like to call this meeting to order if possible. May we please start with the roll call.
Yes, Jack Sager,
He's out.
Excused.
John Liver.
Here.
Yep, and Katie Newton, Mark Sherwood.
Here.
Shauna Manthorn.
Here.
Bree Woodworth. Here. Melissa Walsick. Here. Mary Ann Springer. Here. And Paula Keith.
We'll start with the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And we have to approval of minutes. We are just looking at July 14th public meeting minutes.
Make a motion to approve the July meeting minutes.
Mary Ann made the motion. Any seconds?
Second.
Mr. Woodworth raised his hand and made the second. All those in favor? Opposed? An abstention? All abstains. Everybody else approves. Thank you.
Mr. Sherwood, you have a non-public meeting minutes here.
Thank you very much. Did Mr. Woodworth, do you have one of these?
Yes.
Make a motion to approve the non-public minutes from June, these are from June 19th? So the wrong dates on these then.
So didn't we?
So I make a motion to amend the non-public
'cause
meeting minutes. Aren't these from July 14th?
I don't think so.
So we didn't see these
Because
ones
the
already?
time, look at the time where it says that we entered into non-public was 9:19. The July 14th meeting was in the afternoon, not the evening,
We stayed.
not that long. We were here 5
The-
hours.
These were approved at the July 14th.
So these are the ones that we approved at that
Yes.
July 14th meeting,
Yeah,
so
we
we didn't
did
have a
both the
non-public
public
yet.
and
So we
No, I
did
thought
not,
we-
right.
So you don't have to read them twice.
Great,
Okay,
okay,
right,
so,
so-
thank you for sharing.
You don't have to approve it again.
I was like,
These in the
wait a
back.
minute.
Oh, no, we had a workshop.
Well, that's why I was like, I don't think this
We
was.
had to- That's what I was thinking.
Do we have any delegates and individuals?
No, we do not.
Okay, I'd like to move those remaining minutes to the end of the meeting.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? Sorry, it's done. Student representative, Mr. Stack.
Hi, thank you for such an amazing summer here at Timberlane. We've had a lot of students just going off and enjoying, and others coming back and doing different stuff, like some of our summer camps. We've had strings camp, we've had band camp, we've had so many different sports camps, volleyball, soccer, baseball, basketball, field hockey. It has just been a great experience for all these students. Renovations to the buildings, we've got the Atkinson Bell Tower finally completed. The TRHS walkway and windows are now, the walkway is being redone and the windows have been replaced, and repainting of the parking lot. For the high school, we've had our summer learning resources that we hope students have been able to use this summer if they wish. We had our improv-a-thon, the first 8-hour improv day at the PAC that was live streamed. It was so much fun for everyone. They hope to do it again next year, I believe. ELO student Joseph Mata, I don't want to screw up the last name, but he took Miss Foley up in a plane after
Oh, yes.
receiving his private pilot's license. He was an ELO student who,
He was here, right?
Yeah. worked with Miss Foley and ended up taking her up to kind of thank her. We had our NHS car wash, which originally got canceled and moved to August just because of weather. Upcoming, we have our common application workshop for upcoming seniors who are able to go to a workshop that helps students figure out how to kind of fill out the common application, which is the application that can get you into a lot of colleges instead of just submitting each individual college. It's a really nice resource to have. Freshman orientation is on August 25th at the PAC. Fall sports registration is now out. And all schools just wish to have an amazing upcoming year.
Thank you. I would just like to say we did have the opportunity to have that student come in here and some others with the ELO. So these, I would just like to highlight that these are some of the diamonds in the rough that we have as a district that not every district necessarily has. You have a young gentleman or woman who has a passion that doesn't fit into the standard block curricula, and we have somebody like Ms. Foley who's willing to work with them, not only to support them, but to help them achieve their goals. And the appreciation was obviously felt as this gentleman took her up in the plane and, also landed it, so there we go.
We didn't get any video or pictures
His
of
video
it?
on Facebook,
There's
there's actually video of her screaming and cackling. Like,
Oh, I'm
yeah,
gonna
it's-
have to
it's
look
very
that up.
entertaining.
Joyful.
Yes, not in terror, not in terror. Yes.
I'd also
Wow.
share with you that he shared with Miss Foley that he can't wait to tell his kids that he took his assistant principal up for her first ride in an airplane, like solo. Like, that is awesome.
Yeah, and some faith on both sides
You
there.
can find those on the Timberlane social media pages.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Cam. Next, under current business, we have the annual athletics report. I believe we have Mr. Fantasia.
Welcome, Angelo.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today. I will say, before I get started, football starts tomorrow. We are very excited for the start of a new year. And then the following week, we'll have most of our fall sports beginning. Middle school will start shortly after that. And just because I should tell you this, we've already checked 470 transcripts between middle school and high school kids for eligibility for the fall only. And there will be more, so that is awesome. So first, I'll start with the annual report. It was really a great year last year. We had a great year. For those of you that don't know, obviously we are members of the NHIA, the New Hampshire Interscholastic Athletic Association. We are recognized as a Division I program, and we currently offer over 30 sports programs for our kids. We were talking about this outside a little while ago. Last year, we added esports to our program. Thank you to Coach Matt Jablonski for serving as the coach. I am going to beg all of you not to ask me any questions about esports because I have absolutely no idea. Can't tell you anything. I can tell you Rocket League and Super Smash Brothers. Is
Yeah.
that what I can say?
Yeah.
But don't ask me to identify what they are. One of the things that I do want to highlight as well, because I think Timberlane is a really special place. Many of our student athletes are involved in so many things around us. Band, music, student government, clubs and activities, Project Hope. And when I talk to ADs from other places, I always say to people, one of the things that we do celebrate is the ability of our kids to be all over this place and encouraged to do so. Our middle school athletic program is a member of the Tri-County League, so they compete with other New Hampshire schools. Over the last several years, we've added some things. We've added boys and girls lacrosse, and we've added a co-ed volleyball, which was kind of in between winter and spring seasons. The kids loved it. And congratulations to those coaches and to those kids. I know last year the boys lacrosse team made it to the finals in the Tri-County League, and the girls track team finished second at the Tri-County Championships. But again, the experiences have been very positive. A couple of stats for you, which I found pretty interesting. Between middle school and high school last year, 24-25 season, we put on approximately 773 events. That is not practices. That is games, tournaments, playoffs, 773. That's pretty impressive. At the high school, we had about 402 students participating in an NHIA sport. 54% of those kids played multiple sports. We had about 282 kids playing a tri-county league sport. So we really are trying to celebrate, everything that these kids are doing. A couple of other stats that I kind of found interesting. We have about 73 coaches at the middle school and the high school. And close to 40 of them are either teachers or staff district members, which is pretty good. And over 20 of them, about 21, 22 of them coach multiple sports. Our message to kids is do as much as you can while you're young, because when you get old like me, you're not gonna do anything. So play as many sports as you can, and our coaches kind of live that too. They get in there and coach many things. So we had many highlights, but I'm gonna highlight a few things that happened last year. The first part of this, people are gonna say, okay, well, the wrestling team captured the state title. Yeah, okay. Well, here's the thing. If you talk to Coach Brown and you talk to your wrestling coaches, for the first time in a long time, they were not the favorites to win. And I have to tell you, I kind of remember talking to Coach Brown during the year, and I say the same thing to every coach. Just keep getting better. Just keep getting better. And at one point he came to me and he said, we are getting better. And they surprised quite a few people, and they won the state title. We were really proud of them for that. Girls soccer and girls tennis made it to the state semifinals. First time girls tennis has ever made it to the state semifinals. They're great. And here's an interesting thing about girls basketball, because traditionally in the last probably several years, we've been in Division II in girls basketball, but we've been moved up to Division I. And they made the state playoffs in Division I. Just really proud of them. It's been, I believe, 10 years since they played a Division I basketball playoff game. So again, just some great things. We had 2 track records broken this year, which was great. We had Danielle Bates. She broke the high jump record at 5 feet 8. And we had Charlotte Bodwin set a new high school record in the 400 at 57.87 seconds. Both of them have gone on to compete in national track championships. And one other plug for Danielle, I told her I was going to talk about it today, so I'm not sure if she's watching. But Danielle won the winter and the spring NHIA high jump championships this year.
She became an All-American.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Just great stuff. Overall, 70% of our high school varsity teams made playoffs and 64% of the middle school teams made. Outstanding accomplishments, in the classroom and beyond. This past year, John Vaccarezza and I, John the principal, we took 36 of our seniors who achieved scholar athlete status to the Capitol Center for the Arts in April, and they were honored with all the other scholar athletes of all 4 divisions. The governor was there to make a proclamation and recognize our kids. So that was absolutely fantastic. At the conclusion of the school year, we did our annual senior athlete recognition ceremony in the gym. And at that event, Jeremy Milosic and Emma Norcott received outstanding athlete awards. Lamb Kelly and Ava Stewart were awarded our leadership awards. And Tatenda Chanakera and Caleb Goldman won the athletic director award. And one last piece about this, we had 14 of our seniors earn the NHIA 12 season sport award, which means they played a sport every season for 4 years. That is very difficult to do. So we were really happy about that. Last thing, but certainly not least important, we continue to do our Life of an Owl student leadership training courses with our kids. But last year was a little bit even more special. We had 4 of our Life of an Owl student leaders invited to the NHADA, our athletic directors state conference in Laconia, to present to athletic directors around the state on student leadership and how to do it. And I wowould be remiss if I didn't name these kids: Taylor Alpern, Lila Fitzgerald, Grace Gerhard, and Luke Swanning, and Tim Lena, who is instrumental in Life of an Owl. They drove up, they met me there at 7:45 in the morning, so they got up about 6 o'clock, and they did get to stop at Dunkin' Donuts, because that was a problem. But they presented, and I can't tell you how proud I am of them and how proud you should be of them. They knocked it out of the park. So again, we just got some great things going on, and I'm just grateful for the coaches, the student athletes, for your support. Like I said, we're anticipating another great year, and last year was really, really special. So thank you. That was our annual report.
Any questions or comments?
Keep it up.
I will just say thank you to all those out there, the coaches, the students, the parents that put in those hours. These things do not happen by mistake. It's commitment by the parents and the coaches. And, so the wrestling thing, we've kind of just, expected that to be, like snow in winter. But it doesn't happen without a lot of dedication and work. And the fact that the community came together and supported having two surfaces, being the tennis courts and the track, that are now playable in Lawrence. And we've had these outstanding successes, that make newspaper prints because of that. But it's not just those highlights, it's the other kids who are now able to participate as well, not just the kids who are going to nationals, but the rest of the community who it will be part of their core life, their high school life, and that's thanks to the support of the community. Sorry.
Thank you.
Excellent. And I believe next, you are also going to be on deck to talk about policy JLCGA.
Emergency
correct?
action plan.
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. Just real quick, and I know you have a little executive summary, and you have some pieces here in the back of that packet. So basically, the Senate Bill 148 FN was signed into law back in August 10, 2021. It took effect September 1, 2022. Basically, it was requiring all athletic departments to implement and create a emergency action plan for sports-related injuries, and that's what we have done and continue to do. I would be remiss if I didn't mention our athletic trainer, Gina Carbone. Gina has been instrumental because this is really kind of a living, breathing document. This isn't something that just sits on your shelf. This summer, Gina collaborated with other athletic trainers around the state to kind of share EAPs and kind of make adjustments and kind of edit things the way they felt that they should be edited. So first thing is, traditionally what we've done is we've kind of combined the EAP document with the protocols and procedures document, and they felt like those needed to be separated so that it's a cleaner read of the EAP. So Gina took the lead on that. And one of the things that you'll notice in terms of this EAP, it really does get into detail in terms of location on school grounds and what you would do based on those locations and school grounds. So for example, and again, thank you to everyone, safety committee and all of you, because I think it was a year or two ago, we were able to put AEDs outside, which cuts down the response time, which is also very helpful. So what Gina did is we crafted this in such a way that if you are someone on the upper fields behind the high school, your AED is at the maintenance shed, which is right near the JV baseball field. And so all of these, as you read these, have a purpose in where the location is and how your response time will be quicker. One of the things that you do, and I say this in the executive summary, Gina practices drills with each team at each level, including middle school. So it's called drop the dummy. She brings out the mannequin, and she'll just drive by and just drop it on the ground, and here we go. And the coaches prior to that, and I had a coaches meeting with all my fall coaches on Tuesday, and one of the things that we talk about is when your teams are assembled, you need to sit with them and you need to come up with a response team. And we actually have a template that they fill out and I keep on file. But I am amazed at how many of these kids are CPR certified. So one of the things that we talk about is, and that we learned through these EAPs, is multiple people have to have the same assigned role. If I'm the one that's supposed to call CPR, but I'm the one that's down, someone else has to call 911. So we talk about, the purpose and the why. And coaches get together and they put their teams together. And then when we practice, they each have jobs to do. Some of them might be directing the ambulance as it's coming. Some of them might be performing CPR. Some are calling 911. And the other thing that Gina does, which I'm really, really impressed with, is we practice how to call 911. What information do you need to be ready to supply? So that's another important piece. But again, as you see this, the other piece of the EAP that's we kind of tend to not think about is we have a lot of teams that are off-site. Our hockey team, our swim team, ski team. So those coaches also train with Gina, and they also meet with the facilities crew at those sites. Where is the AED? What is the protocol? What do you have? Our gymnastics gym, they have protocols. We need to make sure that we know theirs and they know ours so that we're not on top of each other and flying in the face of each other. Yes.
Real fast question for you, and if you don't have the answer offhand, that's fine. Do you know of any offsite facilities that we have run into problems that they may not have an AED on hand? And if so, do we have a traveling one, to plug in the gap?
We do have a traveling one. So for example, one of the rinks didn't have one for the longest time. They all do now. Everybody does now, but there was a time where they didn't have one. So we had a traveling one, and especially when we were going to hockey games, the trainer brings it anyway. Because if we're right next to you, no sense having to go get it. So we kind of try to head that off if we can. But like I said, I really want to give a lot of credit to the coaches and to the kids and to Gina, because this EAP, if done correctly, we should constantly be looking at it and making changes. And if this is okay with the board, this is what I'm going to send to the local authorities, and this is what I'm going to share with you.
This is not an action item. Any discussion? Any thoughts on the board? It's not listed as an action item.
I have one question.
Shoot.
So there was an EAP before, this is a new one. About how different is it? Because this is very thorough and clear. How much has it changed?
The difference, it's not so much that this has changed, but we combined, I said in the beginning that we had actually combined kind of two documents into one, where, for example, what I mean by that is your procedures and your protocols in the event of thunder and lightning. So all that stuff was in here, and the athletic trainers felt like, you're putting together like a 25-page thing here. What are you doing? I can cover this, and they'll have two separate sheets. But when we're talking about the EAP, this is what we should be talking about. So Gina actually does go over everything with every team and every coach multiple times. Thunder and lightning, she blasts the air horn 3 times. That's telling everybody you're off the fields. It's not up for discussion. So that's just we just kind of separated them just to make it a cleaner read for people. That's kind of what the difference was.
It is, and as such, this is not something that we need to approve, but it is reviewed annually. I'm satisfied. I don't have questions or concerns that have been risen by what I've read or heard. Does anybody else? In which case, go forth and prosper.
Okay, then I will.
Actually, you can
I
stay
was
here
like,
and do the next one,
he's
yeah.
I got one more.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's August. Booster sign, scholarship approvals. So just very quickly, any booster groups wishing to display signed sponsorships from businesses on school grounds must have school board approval. Per your policy of the school board, we need to make those requests each year. So as a result, what we've tried to do to streamline the process is in August, I come to you with all of the booster groups that are looking to do something like this, so that I'm not coming to you piecemeal, and I'm asking you to approve it so that I can go back. I'll meet with the booster presidents and let them know if it's approved. I let them know that they can do that again. But as I said, you have in your packets, and I keep all of these on file in the athletic office for you.
And just for the general public, the boosters, essentially they try to offset the tax burden to the taxpayers. They try to support their kids with things, from foods to oranges to end of year banquets, senior nights, scholarships, things that we want for our student community that members, volunteers, parents are pitching in on their own to help support that. Is that?
Yes, I mean, I always tell people when I meet with booster presidents, I'll say, the athletic department's gonna supply X, Y, and Z. for the teams. I can't supply these things, I can only supply these things. And if they want them and the coaches want them, that's when they utilize fundraising opportunities to apparel or whatever else they want to do. Some of them will give scholarships to some seniors, which is all fine and good. I will say that we are very fortunate. Our booster groups and community support is amazing. So I applaud them for everything that they do.
So I'd like to make a motion to approve the booster sign sponsorships as provided in the August 14th executive summary.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Mary Ann seconds. All those in favor?
Quick question, sorry,
Shoot.
for the
Quick
discussion.
Thank you.
Both track and football have listed the fence surrounding football field. Does it change out per
Yes.
season?
They change out per season because of that. We don't want people kind of overlapping with each other, and they're great about it. So when fall ends and here comes spring, then track steps in and takes their turn. So yeah, everyone's been really good about collaborating this year.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? It has been a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? None. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and next coming up in the agenda is the 2025-26 school calendar. This is a letter.
Yes. So good evening. I am coming to you with a proposal to add additional early release days, one per elementary school by town. But background is that this is connected to safety trainings that we have adopted at the Timberlane Regional School District. It's been 3 years now since we've adopted ALICE training to help prepare our staff, our students, our families even, in how to respond to critical violent incidents in a proactive manner, and to train people both through online annual training that all of our staff engage in. But every few years, it is recommended and a requirement of ALICE to maintain our certification that we engage in-person, whole staff, active intruder, active shooter drills, and those include both tabletop activities, but coordinated trainings that are conducted by, we have 2 certified trainers that are on our staff, and they work in collaboration with our local law enforcement officers by town. So those trainings have to take place when students are not in the building. They're approximately 2 hours in length, and in order to prioritize the timeliness of training staff at the beginning of the year, we are looking to get those done prior to the end of October, ideally. We do have early release days already scheduled on the calendar. It's approximately 1 per month, unless there is a month that has a professional development day. If we were to use those, we have a couple of challenges. One, we would not complete those trainings until midwinter, which would put us at inequity of training with regard to starting the year with our staff. And 2, we had already developed professional learning relative to instructional practices, things of that nature. And so by altering between different schools, it presents challenges with making sure that all of our staff across all of our schools are receiving consistency in what they're receiving for professional development. So with that, there is a chart at the bottom of the executive summary that summarizes the proposed days by school. So for our 2 secondary schools, we are going to take advantage of the first 2 early release days that are already on the approved calendar. The high school, we are proposing to use that regularly scheduled early release day on September 24th. For the Sandown schools, we would like to add an early release day on Monday, September 29th. Atkinson Academy would be the following day on Tuesday, September 30th. Pollard Elementary would be Wednesday, October 1st. Danville Elementary would be October 2nd. Those would be the 4 new days, again, one by town. So they would affect students attending those elementary schools only. And the middle school would have theirs on the regularly scheduled early release day that's scheduled for October 22nd. And so if you look at, there is a revised calendar here that has those plotted out for you, so you can see what those look like. I also wanted to add that any changes to the school calendar, we by contract are required to consult with the TTA. So I was able to have a conversation with Mr. Broad regarding this proposed change. This does not affect any change to the professional schedule. Staff will still work their contractual day. It's merely an impact to students who will be dismissed early. On average, it's a little over 2 hours that we would have staff by the end of their contractual day. And that would give us sufficient time to complete those trainings in each town within a reasonable amount of time to ensure consistency in training. So
Yeah, do you foresee this being regularly applied like every other year or, you know, at some sort of a
potentially,
scheduled?
yeah. And so
plan
ideally,
this ahead of-
yeah,
Yeah.
ideally we would have been, I think, a little more proactive and brought this when we proposed the calendar originally. This is a model that was used the first time that we engaged in person active intruder, active shooter drills. The difference being that because it was our first time, it was a lengthier process. We did extend the contractual day on those dates. I believe that was 3 years ago in 2022. And so we're adopting that similar model. We're confident that our trainers, we have 2 trainers in district, they feel confident, they've been in communication with ALIS trainers in the towns, that they can do it within 2 hours this time. So it'll be a little bit easier than it was the first time around. But definitely, I know this was talked about in safety committee. I don't sit on safety committee, but I believe it's been a topic of conversation and a request to bring this back to the schools. I know our principals are asking for this because of the fairly significant turnover in staffing over the past 3 years, that they felt it was important to go through this process one more time. So.
Yeah, I am on safety. There's been a lot of discussion both around the timing and the necessity, and it is a challenge for some parents when we have an early release day that was not previously announced. However, it has been 3 years, and as Mrs. Lair had alluded to, we've had a lot of turnover, so we may not have redundancy in place that would be optimal. So we're trying to correct that. Rolling forward, the hope and plan is to not have them all done in 1 year, but to stagger, by third, so that everybody's constantly being refreshed that way.
I would add also that we're also looking at opportunities to train additional staff to be ALIS certified trainers, to conduct trainings so that rather than having to use some of the same resources across all of our schools, we can spread out the number of trainers that we have and possibly coordinate 2 on the same day, which right now is a little more challenging based on what we have. So. Yes.
When you did this before, did the elementary schools have a different early release than middle school, high school?
Yes.
Were there issues where parents needed the older siblings to watch the kids on an early release and they didn't have the same?
Not that came to me. Not to say that they did not happen. I would imagine principals may have heard of some of those individual cases. Do you recall anything that came to the SAU?
Not this office or even in
No.
an admin conversation, but it will happen.
Yeah.
For sure.
I just want to say thank you for the thoroughness of which all of the factors were considered. The safety of staff, students, getting them trained, all of the admin that was supportive in trying to coordinate, make this work. I know you had to deal with transportation, make sure buses were available to get kids where they need to be. And so I'm feeling that it's really important to make this motion to approve the revised school year 2025-2026 calendar so that we can begin to notify families as soon as possible. So I'm making the motion.
I will second it. Any further discussion?
One more question. How will families be notified?
Great question. Once they, should it be the will of the board to approve this, tomorrow, more than likely, the new calendar will be published to the website. We will coordinate a message out to all families by town to inform them of the additional day. Yep. Likely through school messenger, I would imagine, yes, given that it's so close to the school year.
Any further discussion? In that case, a motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? None. Thank you very much. Okay, Softscape Landscaping Services RFP. Mr. Krieger.
I'm gonna defer to Dr. Martin to pick that up, and I just like the word softscape. I wanna mention that.
Well, if you're not presenting, you can no longer use the word.
So, yes, actually, Mr. Krieger, past weekend, I was heading outside to do some work and I mentioned to my wife that I was going to outside to take care of the softscape. That's my new expression, yes. So you all know we have our grounds crew here and our maintenance crew, but a couple times a year, we bring in a landscaper to beautify the front of our buildings for the opening of school, graduation and promotion ceremonies. And I outlined what work is done and how it is done in my executive summary. This year, in order to be in compliance with, I believe it's policy DJE, we went out to bid for this process, and per the board's direction, we requested 1, 2, and 3-year contract or bids for the services. After posting this on our website as usual and feeding out the RFP to the suggested vendors or the preferable vendors on our list that folks sign up for, we have selected Augier Landscaping to do the work for us. They have done work for us in the past. You see their vehicles all over this region. The price is right, and we have evidence of the efficacy of their work. We are gonna be a little late, though, for the opening of school. It'll be sometime in September that they actually get out to all of our schools, regretfully, but it is what it is.
Is that due to the contracting process with them or?
It is, so we were a little bit late getting the RFP out.
Okay.
And now we've, of course, got to work on the contract and process the paperwork, et cetera, et cetera.
So
They'll get here as soon as they can.
Understood. So multiple bids went out, we received multiple prices. They came in at the most competitive, and we have done work with them in the past. You're
Correct.
saying satisfactory. Great.
Just to clarify, this is every single building?
Every single building, yes.
And not just the opening of school, but also graduation.
Yes.
How do these costs compare with past years?
I don't have that information with me this evening, but when we opened the bid and Sarah Barrow was there, she did look back at previous expenses for this work. It's comparable.
Looks like the wheels are turning. Oh, no?
No, I've experience with 2 of these contractors, and Osier is one, and they're do good work. They came in very competitive, and good company.
Cool.
I'll make a motion to approve entering into a 3-year contract with Augier Landscaping for softscape landscaping services for $115,095.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? And just for the public, that is the total cost at the end of 3 years. That is not per year. Additionally, I'd like to thank Doc Martin, because I know some of the time it's not easiest to get them to extend themselves out that long. They'd rather go year by year. But thank you for doing that. It appears as if we may have locked in a little bit of savings. So thank you for that.
Agreed.
Thank you. Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. Next, we have audit engagement authorization.
Doesn't that
This is
just
walk-ins.
sound exciting?
Not, it does, it's not quite up there with softscaping, but see what you can do.
Welcome, Maria.
Hi, good night, everyone. That is just the engagement letter that every year the school board signs for the audit. This year the auditors are a little behind, so they sent it a little late, and we didn't have the July meeting, so that's why it's coming to you.
So if I'm recalling, this is something we do every single year, and ironically, they've all already been in the building and, lifting up rugs and everything, but now we're authorizing them officially. So we can have fun here, but I won't suggest
Because
that.
it didn't happen in July because we didn't have a meeting in July.
Right.
This is the same company we've used before.
Yes. And they give us the same pricing as last year.
Same pricing as last year, same company. We were satisfied with their thoroughness. Does anybody have any questions or concerns, or do you have anything else further that you'd like to add to this? In which case, I will make a motion to authorize the school. board chair myself to sign the audit engagement letter. I don't know if I can do that.
No, I'm
Shauna.
gonna do that. I'll make a motion to authorize the school board chair to sign the audit engagement letter with an estimated fee of $28,500, which does not include additional work for grants or any other items.
I can second that, however, and I will. I'm not the chair, so I can't do that.
Clarifying question.
Clarifying question.
Does this go out to RFP as well, or is this just a previous year move to the next year agreement?
I'm sorry?
Does this go to RFP as well, out to bid, or is this just a?
We haven't gone out to bid for accounting, since I've been here, so just continue with the same firm. It's only actually 2 firms that do school districts in New Hampshire. I'm not sure that the other firm will bid. If it's the desire of the board to go out to bid for auditing, we can definitely do that.
Okay, good question, and maybe we can open that up next week.
Yeah.
So motion has been made and seconded. Any further questions? Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Wonderful.
Again.
Okay, you're staying in the seat. Next up is budget to actual report.
So we have the preliminary, the auditors were here last week doing the field work. They are now reconciling all the accounts and the books. So we are not finalized with the audit, but I'm presenting the financials as they are after the field work for the auditors. As you can see in the upper portion of the dashboard, in revenue, we received $74,659,352. That is roughly $10 million less in revenue that we received the prior year. Expenses were $83,689,682. That's about $12 million more than what we spent the prior year. On the second portion, you can see again the revenue, the increase in revenue, the revenue and expenses comparison budget to actual. So revenue will receive 102% of the projected revenue in the budget, and expenses we spend 91% of the total budget.
Before you
the
continue,
actu-
I'm sorry to interrupt, Maria. Dean, is there any way that this could be projected for any of the viewing public?
The dashboard?
The dashboard, yeah. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Maria. I meant to ask it in the beginning.
I
and
didn't
I-
realize it wasn't there, thank you.
Yeah, I looked up there and I didn't see
Thank
it.
you for bringing that
Yeah,
up.
no worries at all. Some people may be doing screenshots.
Yes.
Excellent, thank you. Sorry about that, Maria.
Thank you for, I didn't even realize. As I was saying, I'm in the middle portion. On the left side, we see compared to budget. In the middle one, we see the actual revenue broken down in the allocations. Local revenue was 1.9%. State and federal funding was 15.7%. And taxpayers' contribution to our revenue was 82.4%. The actual expenses, 30.5% was operating, 44.2% were salaries, and 25.4% were benefits, for a total of $83.6 million. In the bottom portion, you can see by month the comparison of last year's expenses to this year's expenses. The total variance for the year compared to fiscal year 2024 was $11,783,588. That $11.8 million broken down is salaries and benefits. The increase was $4.5 million. Contracted services was $2.8 million. Transportation was $1 million. And then obviously we have the capital payment of the lease that was $3.5 million. That's what makes up the $11.8 million difference year over year. And at the bottom we have the statistics that we have been presenting every month. We ended up the year with 210 students, 621 full-time employees, and 59 contractors.
Okay, any questions or comments? Bree?
So can we glean from this that there's a roughly
9 million in unassigned fund balance?
No, the unassigned fund balance includes also encumbrances. So because the audit is not finalized, I am not presenting tonight. We're gonna present it in August 4th, which is after I fill out the MS-25, which is the financial reporting to the Division of Revenue Administration. And in conversations with Superintendent Krieger, we decided to hold on to the balance until the auditors get back to us with all the reconciliations, and we filed for the MS-25.
So you're suggesting it would be inappropriate to take a stab in the dark before the auditors are complete? You're not,
I
okay.
don't want to present a number and then have to change the number.
Understood. Looking at this dashboard, I can glean a number if things stay on that trajectory, and I am not speaking for you because you're not speaking smartly, but I see it at less than that 9-figure just in looking at the data from the dashboard. Any other thought?
I was gonna share through the admin report, but I would share with the board here at this moment that I can say with confidence that the number will be significantly less than it was in fiscal '24. And I'm even saying that more than 50% less. So if we're looking at a $16 million unassigned fund balance the previous year, I think the board can expect to see at minimum at least half of that, potentially a little bit more toward the zero side of it.
Plus or minus X. Awesome.
And then part 2. So our actual expenses for fiscal year 25 was 83.7 million roughly. What is our fiscal year 26 budget?
83.2.
Thank you.
Good question.
This is only a general fund, as you know, the dashboard is presented only on the general fund. The total expenses all in with food service and grants was 86,352,265.
Thank you for adding that. Many of us, perhaps myself, forgot that, so thank you.
Mark,
Paul?
just for most folks, revenue was 10 million less, correct? And 98% of that was from taxes. So where's the and state and federal funding? So where was the bulk of the 10 that we did not receive?
Oh, that's compared to last year. So
Yeah.
last year, obviously, our budget was larger, and
So
so
that's
the
directly from
appropriations were
taxpayers' portion.
Mhm.
Okay. I guess I didn't know there was any like funding from state or federal that changed.
No,
Okay.
the federal, well, the state funding stayed pretty flat. It's about $17 million that we received last year and this year.
Certainly do not be under the impression that we lost any significant federal funding.
Yes.
Well, it did come into budget pretty much. I mean, it was pretty
Yeah.
close to budget, which is nice.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Excellent. Any other questions? Maria?
I had seen statistics where 70% of school budgets are typically funded by taxes and the other 30 by state and federal. But this is saying 82.4% taxpayers. Is that typical for us? I don't know where I heard the 70-30 split before, but I know I've seen it.
Nationwide, it could be, because as a state, we get less state funding than any other state in the United States of America.
Yeah, no, it was New Hampshire.
It was New Hampshire.
It depends how much is your budget compared to the funding that we get from the state, right? So if one year the budget is larger than the prior year, and if the state and federal funding remain the same, but our budget increases above what was the prior year, then it will be more into the taxpayer bucket.
I think, Mary, you may be referencing is the number that was put out by the New Hampshire Fair Funding Project. And they also have a window, and I think their window is 70 to 85%. And it is variable depending upon the size of the district itself.
Okay.
It's probably an average.
Is there anything else from Maria? In that case, thank you very much.
Maria.
Appreciate it. Softscaping. Okay, and next we have up to date for an elementary enrollment update with Mrs. Kanotis.
Welcome, Lucy.
Good evening. Happy to last enrollment report before school starts. Getting very excited. So as you can see in the board packet, we have gone up to 3 pressure points. 2 grade levels at Sandown North have had significant enough enrollment that they are now within 3 students of maxing, but none of our grade levels are over, and we have managed through the summer without needing to request to add any positions from last year. I also do just want to note, because these reports are done a week in advance, 10 days ago, we are, as of today, at Pollard School, full day kindergarten is full. We have 40 students for those 2 classrooms, so we are at capacity and that is full.
Any questions, comments, concerns? Bree?
So what happens when a full kindergarten is full? So would you ever add another teacher? Would you have them go to a different school? Would you just not offer it? What's kind of the protocol on that?
So it does depend on the timing, but at this point in time, we have space in our other full day kindergarten classrooms, and so the recommendation would be that we allow students to go to another school if they're still registering. We don't typically get early childhood registrations this late in the game. We had a lot of movement between half day and full day. We had a couple of families who went half day and have now paid the deposit, come up with the funding to go full day, so that the number did fluctuate because of that. But we haven't taken in a lot more registrations, which makes us think that we would not get to a point that we have enough students to add another classroom.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
Just a follow-up question with what Bree said. So on the kindergartens that are listed under like the requested / outstanding, so are those families that requested but didn't pay, or where is that number coming from?
So it could be the deposit, it could be the tuition payments. It also is oftentimes records. So we had one family who had a really difficult time getting a birth certificate from another state. And until they've turned in the birth certificate, residency paperwork, and the deposit, they aren't finalized. And so that some of those, Atkinson no longer has anyone, Pollard no longer has anyone.
So like
that,
Danville has like 6, so that's what I'm looking at for their full day.
Yes.
So if there's room though, if those 6 children all get whatever they've missed, there's room in the classroom still for them to move in, correct?
Correct. So that number that you're looking at, 26 total, 13 and 13, there's 14 spots still at Danville for full day kindergarten. So we have enough space. Most of those looking at them, there's a couple of payments outstanding, and there are 2 that are looking at paperwork hasn't been turned in.
And is there anybody left from Pollard? You said they were full. But were there still people that were trying to get in? Okay, so everybody that wanted a spot has a spot
As of today.
As of today, 7:54. Any other questions, comments?
Those are all the stuff. What are your major concerns moving forward with the staff?
Not concerns necessarily. I think we're already working, and kindergarten camp happens this week, and so teachers are already looking at students and thinking about, for those larger classes in kindergarten, right, how those placements on all teachers' placement today based on who came to camp, how those placements pair out and what additional support they might need throughout the day. But overall, we've had 2 days with administrators, and lots of administrators visited kindergarten camps this week, and overall we've heard significant difference between the group last year and the group this year, so it's exciting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And next up on the list, I believe we may have a tag team, the TTA, discussion of TTA evaluation plan.
Sure. Alright, good evening.
Welcome, Lou.
Changed my seat.
Evening again, Sandy.
So I am going to let Mr. Broad introduce himself.
Most of you know me, but I'm Lou Broad. I am current president of the Timberlane Teachers Association, and I also teach science at the high school.
Wonderful. Lou and I are here. We are co-presenting. We were both members of the Educator Evaluation Plan Committee that worked from May through summer, really, to develop revisions to the Educator Evaluation Plan. Just some background to that, you should have, and Dean, clicker or mouse?
Should be.
Keyboard?
Oh, try the keyboard. Nope. Oh,
Nope,
yes, there we go. Okay, so you have an executive summary in your packet along with the full evaluation plan. Our intent is to give you some general highlights to help frame your thinking as you're reviewing these documents. So our committee met. It was comprised of teacher representation from both school and district administration. Our process was to review our current evaluation plan. The teacher evaluation plan was first proposed and approved by the Timberlane board and the TTA back in 2015. So this is our third cycle. It's a cycle of 5 years that the document is approved for. This was our third cycle, and so really we dug into the document. We had a lot of conversation about current research. We reviewed some educational books connected to evaluation. We're able to get some input and feedback from colleagues and other educators.
And we compare ourselves to other schools.
Correct.
And we adopted some systems that other schools have found to be successful.
Right. So through that process, which was very collaborative, very productive, you'll see the revisions that are in the plan in front of you. Some things we wanted to highlight that have not changed from the existing plan that is currently in place. There are in this plan 4 categories of evaluation. So there's a section for new teachers. New teacher does not necessarily mean new to the profession. It means new to our district and possibly new to the profession. But experienced teachers who come to us with a wealth of educational experience at a different district or school, when they come to us, they are placed on the new teacher plan. That is a 5-year plan. There is some flexibility within that through an agreement with the evaluator and the teacher after 2 years to begin having conversations about moving that teacher to the experienced educator plan.
That would mostly apply to an experienced career teacher who has 20 years experience and comes to our district after 2 years. They've probably learned everything that they know about. Well, most of what they know about working in Timberlane. So the evaluator and the teacher would collaboratively agree to move them to the experienced teacher category.
Great.
Sorry, can I ask a quick question in regard to that? So I just saw on one of our nominations that they are a high school teacher moving to the middle school.
Yes.
So they're not necessarily new to our district, but they're new to the role or the building, I guess.
That's a great question.
Where would they fall?
So they are still an experienced teacher. Through the mentoring program, which is not connected to evaluation, we actually treat them as a new experienced educator and provide mentoring support, which is another layer of support to help them in that transition. But within the district evaluation plan, they would remain on continuing contract as an experienced educator.
As
If
a-
needed, the support plan is designed to help people in those kind of transitions. It's not necessarily a plan where someone's having difficulty. It's where they may be in some sort of transition and need additional support, just as it says.
Thank you.
Experienced educator is just that. So educators who have been here for 5 or more years, or those individuals whom we just referenced who may have come with a wealth of experience and may have been moved prior to 5 years to that plan. Mr. Broad just spoke to the nature of support plans.
those are just that. They are designed to be adaptive and tailored to the needs of that individual staff member in collaboration with the evaluator. There might be some additional supports and also observations, things of that nature. Those fluctuate and change on a case-by-case basis. And the improvement plan would be put in place to provide support, to provide oversight, and ideally, if there is an educator who is not performing at a level of proficiency for a series of evaluations, I would say, there might be conversations of moving to support and then improvement. So those are the 4 categories. I don't know if you have anything to add.
I don't think so.
Okay. Another thing that is consistent, but slightly updated, I'm gonna try this. There we go. Okay. So the evaluation framework for the past 10 years, and it will remain so, is grounded in the Charlotte Danielson framework for teaching. This is an evaluation instrument that's grounded in research on effective teaching practices. And there's a visual right there. There are 4 primary domains that teachers are evaluated under, the first being planning and preparation, learning environments, domain 3 is learning experiences, and domain 4 is principal teaching. I'm gonna move forward. One of the changes to the evaluation plan, went too far. Oh. Dean, I think we might be missing a couple of slides, possibly. No? I'll just speak to it, that's fine. So within the framework, if you look here, it's very small, I apologize. But visually, each domain has different components that factor into what each domain is comprised of. So for planning and preparation, you'll see they range from 1A to 1F. Those are all different aspects of planning and preparation from a teacher's professional responsibilities. Each of those components has what are known in the document as critical attributes and descriptors that are organized into a rubric or a framework of sorts to determine where a teacher falls in a range of performance levels. Mr. Broad has the visual over here. It's a little small for you, but you want to see it.
I wonder if he doesn't have the most updated.
And that's okay, Dean, no problem. So within that, I think our intent was to show the complexity of professional practice of our educators. They are planning ahead. They are thinking on their feet in the classroom. They're asked to be responsive to student needs. They're required to foster collaborative cultures that are welcoming for children, that are organized in a way that is productive and conducive to learning. They are organizing instructional practices and experiences that are personalized and adaptive to the needs of a multitude of students. And they are also adhering to other professional responsibilities and expectations outside of the classroom regarding their own professional growth and participation in a learning community. So, teaching is very complex. This framework and rubric that they are evaluated against, again, is organized into these 4 domains, 22 components. There are 22 associated rubrics for each of these.
Each component has a comprehensive rubric.
So as we kind of move forward thinking about the organization of the plan, every cycle, and I'm actually going to back up. I neglected to say that one of the changes is that we updated to the 2022 version of the Danielson Framework for Teaching. We discovered in our research and review of the document that we had been operating on an outdated plan. And based on recent research on instructional practices, things of that nature, we had a pretty early agreement to update to that version. We were able to purchase books for all of our teachers and evaluators. Those will be distributed at the start of school, regardless of whether or not the plan is approved. So we're moving forward with Charlotte Danielson, the 2022 version. Okay. Philosophically, I'm going to pass it over to Mr. Broad if we can advance it. It eventually works.
Okay.
Maybe having an issue, Dean?
It's okay. It's not advancing.
Okay.
Oh, wait, I got it up here. There we go,
Okay.
we got it.
So since the original design, which took about 18 months back in 2013 and 14 to design this, always we wanted to promote a collaborative relationship between the evaluator and the teacher, so that the teacher has a chance to grow as well as be evaluated. That promotes a spirit of that professional inquiry and collegiancy. And it ensures, the evaluators ensures an effectiveness between the student performance and the teacher. That's part of the observations that administrators make. They usually make observations while teachers are teaching with students, and that interaction is part of it. And then teachers will, with their evaluator, will look at how their growth has happened and what changes might be needed, or what goals might be set. And for the past 10 years, we've always felt that there has been a very collegiate and collaborative relationship between the evaluators and the teachers.
Bree?
I was just wondering who or how is it determined which evaluators will be assigned to which educator?
That's a good question. The administrators divvy up how they do. We're not party, the TTA is not party to how they make those decisions. You're assigned an evaluator. Often has to do with subject area. Science teacher is evaluated by Mr. Pedersen, an English teacher by Mr. Brown or Mr. Woodworth or so forth.
At the elementary level, when there were 2 primary evaluators per school, they have the entire staff, and so they divide it up in a somewhat equitable fashion. Sometimes it's by grade level, sometimes it's by dividing up the number of new teachers, new educators, and experienced educators, so that, right, you're looking at both. At the secondary level, as Mr. Broad stated, many of our evaluators, administrators hold certification in specific content areas. So to the greatest extent possible, we try to align them with those departments so that they have some of that content expertise to be able to participate in those conversations with staff.
Don?
The domains, you aren't necessarily focused on specific content. You're talking about skill sets, very important aspects of teaching. You're talking planning. You can see evidence of planning and how effective it is in getting kids, to have a good lesson and participate well without you knowing all the content. Because what you can see is, are kids asking questions? Are they engaged? Are they all the things that good planning would involve? So the teachers become comfortable with the administrator doing it, and if the content is a concern for them, they can talk about that in the administrator support in that process. And I've been an evaluator for real languages. I'm an English background. I took some high school French. Spanish was a little bit more difficult for me to follow. I was more like the kids in the classroom, learning along with them many times. But when I was doing about evaluation, that was a different conversation. It was about, these domains, what they were doing, how they were improving, what their goals were, how they were meeting those goals. And again, it's a collaborative, conversation so that you learn about how the teacher approaches each one of those components, in every category. So it's pretty thorough and it's pretty safe to assume that if they're going through this process, there are no surprises and people get, the evaluation they work for.
So you're, and to you too. So planning and preparation, for example, I have no idea. I don't know what they do when they're doing planning and preparation time, but what you're saying is you would see it
Yeah, they'll bring you
through
in.
the instructions,
They'll sit down, they'll
prepared.
show you what their long-term planning is. They'll show you the lesson that you're gonna observe.
Yeah.
You'll have meetings ahead of the lesson, so you have an idea of what the anticipation of what's gonna happen is and how it works out. And again, it's pretty fair process to understand. And then there's
It would manifest
observations
itself
that are
there.
not planned, that are
Yep.
just in course of being in and out of classrooms, for administrators, where they get to see things that if there's something there they have a question about, they, initiate a conversation with that, if there has to be a meeting or anything like that, they have a meeting.
Right.
But, it's really,
So to an evaluator, those 1A through 1F would be fairly apparent. Like even if you didn't see the planning and preparation, you would,
Yes.
right.
you would
Yes.
see the evidence of it
Yes,
through that.
and often entering into a classroom, it's sometimes, depending on the time of the lesson, if you were entering at the launching of a lesson or a period at the middle or high school, you might actually observe a teacher going over learning objectives for the day, right? How it connects to, right, what are the end results or end goals of the lesson. You might even see assessments. And if students are taking assessment, you can see kind of visually or in practice how that connects to their planning. So they're all interconnected. No one domain exists in isolation from the other. And often when you observe evidence, and really that's what evaluation is, it's collecting evidence on what you see when you walk in and then aligning it to these different domains on the rubrics. Oftentimes some of the evidence that you see, student experiences, what the teacher says, what the students are doing, align to multiple components on the rubrics because they are so interconnected. So I'm just going to move forward. We have a few more slides and then we're happy to entertain questions overall. Mr. Broad, I think this is you.
Just to keep you informed, the evaluation agreement is a provision of the CBA set in 14. It sets how the committee is formed. It is an even number of teachers and administrators or other district representatives. We had 4 teachers and 6 from your side. We have one person on our side who could not make it on the days we did it. And then since it is a provision of the CBA, it goes through a similar approval process. You folks need to approve it, and our membership needs to vote on it. Our membership is due to vote on it on August 26th.
Some other significant changes. So again, the Danielson framework, we have been operating in that system. We've updated to the 2022 version. We have literature for our staff and we have planned professional learning connected to the update on our professional development welcome back days. So that is ready to go. Other significant changes are in the following categories. So all educators set goals at the start of the year as part of the evaluation process. That experience is directly connected to a self-reflection that the educator completes against the Danielson framework. So the very first thing that an educator will do annually for experienced educators is at the start of a 3-year cycle. They will look at all different components on the rubric and they will rate themselves based on that language as to whether or not they feel that they are at a unsatisfactory, basic, proficient, or distinguished level based on the rubric. And that is so that they can, again, reflect and self-identify areas for growth and any personal strengths that they have already that they're contributing to their students, to their classrooms, and to our community. So from there,
that goal is also cooperatively designed with your evaluator. So you don't have carte blanche in there. You have to get your evaluator to approve that goal and then set whatever measurements might be associated with that goal.
So the goal is designed to meet 2 end results. One is professional growth for the educator, and a direct correlation to that professional growth ideally is improved student learning outcomes through the professional growth and reflective practice of the teacher. The first bullet there speaks to student learning objectives. So in our current plan that we are moving away from, it used to be that the state Department of Education, when this plan was first developed, formerly required educators and districts to establish what are known as student learning objectives as goals. Those were measures that were data-based and identified growth targets for students. And then those growth targets were transitioned into a numerical calculation to determine educator effectiveness. The Department of Ed moved away from that over 5 years ago. We made the decision that because we are no longer operating within that system at the state level, that we really wanted to dig into the philosophy of this plan and bring it back to that idea of reflective practice and professional growth with accountability and collaborative practice. So we've moved forward with the one goal for experienced teachers. New teachers have pre-established goals. They receive one goal per domain. Their goal setting conference is more of a general conversation about what each domain represents and what action steps they hope to put into place that year to grow professionally and meet that goal. Yes.
Had you said one goal per teacher?
Yes.
Okay, and that goal lasts for the 3-year cycle.
No, 1-year cycle, 2-year cycle if the you and the evaluator agree on that, but typically it's a 1-year goal.
In that goal, they establish it. It's not, so my goal could be to be on time to class, to be more time.
No.
So
They're connected directly to the framework. So again, the self-reflection is a reflection against the different rubrics connected to the Charlotte
what are
Danielson
the
framework.
guardrails for an administrator, what are the guardrails set in place for the rare instance where a teacher will take the low fruit?
So there is language in there that I don't have the page number, but there is language. We actually had that conversation in our group that because this is an evaluation plan, it is tied to professional growth, but it's not a professional development plan. We have a PD plan, that's a separate document. It's an evaluation plan, and so if there is disagreement, then the evaluator identifies an area for targeted growth and there is a lack of consensus, the evaluator has the ability to determine that, no, this is going to be the goal that you are going to focus on for evaluation.
Follow up on that, would you have both goals, the educators and the evaluators, or just the evaluators?
Just the one, we had that conversation as well, just the one. It does not preclude an educator from setting a professional goal tied to professional development. That is still something that's always an opportunity for an educator to work on. They have funds available to attend workshops, to go to conferences, but from an evaluation standpoint that's tied to growth and potentially an area of identified need, that would be the result of that.
If I could follow up on that?
Sure.
And again, these are some of the questions that I've spoken with some of the other school board members with and some that aren't attending. And I've
Would it be-
received some clarification.
Would it be helpful to go through all of it and then answer questions
Certainly
possibly?
helpful for you, yes.
Okay. So I think we're almost done, and then that might answer some of the questions
Perfect.
that, if not, please ask. So the goals, that's the first piece. Observations, significant changes is that we, again, dug into some of the most recent research that is out there on effective evaluation and feedback that's actionable, right? So professional feedback is rare. Evaluations, walking in those meetings, in our former plan or current plan until this is updated, experienced educators received one formal evaluation every 3 years, right? And so our conversations were really about, sometimes it's those shorter, ongoing active interactions between an educator and an evaluator or a colleague that allow that ongoing reflective practice and growth. So that was an identified point of leverage that we wanted to build into this plan. So we purposefully moved away from formal observations. They still exist. They are no longer called formal observations because we wanted to have a break from what we used to do. The forms will still exist. They will now be called planned observations. They will still exist in the technological platform that we use for evaluation, but they are no longer required for everyone, but they're an option. We are instead moving toward that more frequent, regular model of feedback. We opted to call them mini observations. That term we did not make up. That came from Kim Marshall, who has some research around effective evaluation practices. And so mini observations are just that. They are shorter in duration. They are primarily unannounced. They could be coordinated. evaluated in collaboration through conversation. In the past, I had educators say, hey, I'm trying something new. I'd love for you to come in. That could be a mini observation. I could also be walking by a classroom in the hallway, see something really interesting, walk in, and decide that that's going to be a mini observation. So we have flexibility in how those happen. We are moving to that model that is the primary method of observation. New educators will have a minimum of 6 annually, and experienced educators will have a minimum of 4 annually. Within those observations, we also had a lot of discussion about, I'm going to go back to the 4 domains just so you can see these. So Mr. LeCain asked the question about, what's observable? How will you observe some of these different things? More often than not in a classroom setting, evidence from domain 2, learning environments, and domain 3, learning experiences, is what's observed when you are in a classroom observing, right, teaching and learning. Planning and preparation is the work that happens outside of, right, when the learning, the period begins. And then principal teaching, you likely observe some of those elements when you're observing a teacher. But more often than not, participation in school community and culture, acting in the service of students, developing professionally, those may not be observable in a classroom setting. And so collecting evidence and providing documentation for teachers around those areas is more challenging in a traditional classroom observation. So we created what we called unassociated, thank you, observations, which always existed in our plan, but the descriptors around what those are and how to document them were not really well fleshed out. So now we have a requirement that annually all educators will receive one of those. Those could be observations that
Alternative. That's it. Yeah.
And those educators, it could be sitting in an IEP meeting. It could be attending a parent meeting. It could be reviewing Power School and Gradebook to see if grades are up to date. It could be observing that educators have taken the lead in a school or district initiative that has embraced our community and created opportunities for children. All of those experiences are not necessarily observable in a classroom setting, but we wanted the ability to document those and give feedback on those. So we've created this avenue to be able to address that. So,
Is this specific to that, or should we let it go on?
Specific to that. Is that part of the 4-6 mini observations,
Yes.
or is that in addition to?
So it's both. One of the many observations has to be one of these non-traditional. On top of that, we have unassociated observations that also give any administrator, not necessarily evaluator, the ability. I no longer evaluate teachers at the high school. I used to. I no longer do, but if I happen to be over there and I observe something, again, positive or negative, that I want to be able to document, I have that ability through the unassociated observation form that could address all 4 of those domains.
It would count as a mini observation or not?
It would be outside of the ones that your primary evaluator would be doing.
In addition to.
Thank you.
And those are minimum numbers.
Correct.
Administrators are certainly welcome to do more.
Along with that, in the middle of the year, we added a mid-year check-in for all educators to reflect on the ongoing mini observations and the goal to see the progress that they're making. And there is always an end-of-year reflection. I'm going to let Mr. Broad talk about conflicts of interest.
We added a section about conflict of interest. If there's a
not up
reason
here.
an evaluator has some sort of conflict of interest, they should not necessarily evaluate that teacher. An example would be if Mr. Woodworth, the assistant principal, should not evaluate Mr. Woodworth, the English teacher. If you have a student in your classroom who is the child of an evaluator, you should consider conflict of interest. There are a couple of things, for example, if there was a grievance situation or something, we would consider that there should be a conflict of interest notice and that perhaps that person should not be evaluating. We also, we have in the past have some conflicts, they're rare, and we've used the grievance process. This document simply formally acknowledges that the CBA grievance process does apply to evaluations, and it is part of our business conduct. And in that, we negotiated a waiving of time limits. There's a 15-day time limit for filing grievances. There are situations in the year-long process of evaluation where the time limit may have expired. We waive that.
Just want to acknowledge that aside from these most significant changes, primarily the bulk of the document remains consistent with what we have had in place for the past 10 years. These sections on support plans and improvement plans, we did not update. Those we felt were working effectively. We did not see need to change those. So those sections remain as they have been since the original plan was developed. And I think the other slides aren't coming up.
They aren't coming up.
They
They
aren't
did.
coming up. It's okay.
I think there's only
Duty to inform is what
duty to
got
inform.
left, yeah.
This has always been in the agreement. There is a duty to inform for the administrators have a duty to inform a teacher as soon as possible if they observe unsatisfactory performance. The educators will be informed by what the problem is, what consists resolution, and that should be a written form, either email, memo, letter, written form. If an administrator sees something wrong, they need to report it immediately. That's always been part of the agreement.
The other just kind of general comment that's not on the slide that has been in our plan since its genesis, it remains in the plan. I think Mr. Broad talks about this frequently when we have conversations about staff. There is a statement in there that states that all interactions are evaluative. And so while this evaluation plan sets up a structure and a framework to measure teacher performance, development, growth, really evaluators always have an opportunity to provide feedback. Educators are always in a professional capacity in a potential situation where they might be receiving evaluative feedback. And so, these are the formalized structures that we have put in place, but we are always trying to collaborate and communicate around professional growth to try to improve student learning outcomes and experiences. So
That was my original language 12 years ago.
that's why I said I know you was yours, yeah. So, okay,
I think we're open for questions.
we are.
I have a number of questions and comments, so I'll let everybody else go first because it may overlap with what I have unless you guys want me to start to throw them up in the air.
I'd love to.
Great.
Because we all know. I guess my only concern is with the singular goal, and you kind of alluded to it, saying that it would be annually that this would shift or change. But what if that goal were over a 3-year time span?
That would be something the evaluator and the
Yeah.
teacher agree on. And more than likely, they would set up a number of check-ins. How is this proceeding? How are we going to measure that goal? Is it a big goal? Like, I'm a physics teacher, but I want to take a math certification. That would be a big goal. It would be a 3-year goal. And we would set that up.
If I may too, so we're looking at, the design of it. There are forms that teachers will fill out that are connected to all of these different components of the evaluation plan. So the goal setting document has expectations for teachers to identify what will that look like, right? What will success look like if you meet that goal? What do you need from us to help support you in that? That could be professional growth. That could be time to observe other educators. It could be a variety of things. And then on the flip side, what will you do? What are some action steps you will take to meet the goal? So it's not simply a goal statement that has no guardrails. That whole goal setting conference is an opportunity to talk about and to define what does that mean? How will we measure it? How will we know if you were successful? And the check-ins are opportunities to ideally say, how's it going? Is this still a relevant goal for you? And if not, how do we need to adjust it? And so that's one of the primary reasons we built in a mid-year check-in. Because sometimes you have a vision of what you think you want to do and you start working on it and it changes. And we wanted to honor that and create opportunities for staff to be reflective and adjust what they're working on.
And so that kind of connects to the second part is not when someone is unsatisfactory, not when they're on an improvement plan or support plan, but what if they just didn't achieve their goal or they changed it and now have never achieved a goal because they constantly change it. Where does that fall in?
So there are two components of evaluation, right? There is the goal, and then there is evaluative feedback, right? And so at the end of the year, the educator and the evaluator will connect on the goal, right? And their reflective practice, their professional growth. Regardless of the goal, all of those mini observations and any other unassociated observations will be providing feedback against the rubric relative to their overall performance, right? That's an annual piece. And then at the end of 3 years, which often aligns with their certification cycle, there is a summary evaluation that is designed to look at the accumulation of evidence. Teachers have the opportunity to upload evidence connected to all of the domains. Here's how I believe I have met all of these different things. There's a separate conference connected to that. So there are two different things kind of happening in tandem, right? So there's the goal that's around professional growth and the framework. But at the same time, they're also getting this other stream of feedback. So it's not punitive to say you didn't meet your goal. I'm going to rate you as basic. Because all of the other evidence I have regarding your professional practice may be proficient or distinguished based on everything that I've observed of your practice with students. That's part of the whole conversation, the big picture that we're talking about around a teacher and an educator and what they hope to achieve.
So you're saying the goal is going to drive the force, collect the data points, kind of that item, get actionable steps, measurable steps along the way, kind of have guideline, but it is not the you definitely succeed or you definitely
It's not
fail.
the be all and end all of an evaluation.
So even if you
or
obtain
feedback
your
system.
goal, you still could be unsatisfactory. And even if you don't obtain your goal, you could still be extraordinary or
From a
exemplary. What was
holistic,
the-
distinguished, from a holistic point of view.
Clarification on that, if I could. On page 8, the educator will develop a measurable goal that will lead to improved educational practices, et cetera, et cetera. Prior to that, it mentions the educator will monitor his or her goals. So it seems to go back and forth between singular and plural. That's some of the confusion that we had, because they'll say they will follow their goal, but then it says they will make several goals.
New teachers have 4 goals. Experienced teachers have 1 goal. Support and improvement plans may have any number of goals as designed into the plan. That may be why the language is written that way.
Okay.
Or we may have simply missed a typo.
Highly possible.
It's highly
We
possible.
worked really
That's
hard.
clear though, thank you. That's clear.
And also you had mentioned, and I had discussed with some other administrators, that different types of observations, the planned observation, unassociated observation, and mini observations. It was stated that mini observations would be unannounced, but it's not stated in here anywhere that they would be unannounced. So there could be a perspective that, hey, next Wednesday, 2:00, be in your A game, I'm coming in. I think this is what the plan is designed to avoid, so that there is true reflection. And I believe the spirit of this plan is indeed heading in the direction that we all want it to. However, there are some plans that are stated, this is a planned observation. The one before is a mini observation. By negation of definition, I would assume that would be without giving the teacher the foreknowledge. Because if you have a planned observation, then you have a mini observation. By definition, the mini is not a plan, right?
Planned observations for new and experienced teachers are optional. The teacher requests them. Everything else is the mini observations. They do not have to be announced. They could certainly be announced.
Does it say that anywhere in this document? I wasn't able to find it and I went through the document. May I suggest, if that was your intention, that you add that? I understand from what you both said that was your intention, to have that flexibility.
I think, so the flexibility I think could go both ways, right? Our intent was to open it up to allow them to be unannounced, but not to lock it in that they're always unannounced. Again, the philosophy of evaluation is designed to be productive and collaborative. And so I would want an educator to have an opportunity, and not to put on the planned dog and pony show, but to again, they might be trying something innovative or be really proud of something that they're working on and want to highlight that. I would want to honor that and allow that to become a mini observation. And if we say that they have to be unannounced, I
I'm
would
not-
want the flexibility in both directions, I guess.
There's
is where I'm
also,
coming
there's also
from.
past practice. For the last 10 years, these have been out and announced. Any administrator can walk into a classroom and start observing. The primary change here is that any administrator that walks in has a duty to report that back to the teacher on feedback.
Would there be a disadvantage from either of your perspectives to clarifying optional unobserved? Because you have one that is optional unplanned, yeah, not unobserved, right, unplanned. Because one of them is defined unplanned, one of them is defined planned rather. Would there be a disadvantage to having the other one open so that it's not potentially interpreted by somebody else in the future a different way than is your intention?
Well, as I said, past practice is established. So if someone's going to bring that as a grievance, saying, wow, the administrator showed up unannounced, doesn't say they can do that, we would turn around and say, no, you can't grieve that because past practice exists that says they can indeed. And that's always been the last 30 years, the practice. Administrators can walk in anytime and observe your classroom.
Marianne?
So it seems that it might help to just say many observations are generally unannounced but can be planned
Would you both be comfortable with that? That's, thank you.
with the
for that more
evaluator.
succinctly.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Just to give the
Maybe.
option
Option.
to have a plan.
And it's
Maybe
up.
observation.
Announced or unannounced.
Open to it?
Open to it, yeah.
Well, I was just gonna say, I
Is there,
guess,
is there specific wording you would like us to
No,
add?
just the intention. Nail the
So-
intention down for
Many
best
observations,
practice.
maybe unannounced.
You may not always be there,
Maybe.
right? Somebody else could have a very different interpretation.
Happy to add that in.
I'm good. I was gonna agree with the past practice statement, but I mean, I understand it can go both ways, but I mean, as you said, it's very clear to everyone that every interaction is observable. So, And that's very clear across.
A teacher who refused an administrator coming in their classroom would have a whole different problem.
So you just answered one of the other questions I was going to ask, so thank you. I knew you could. Marianne, did you have something?
I have one question. I think that if there were to, you emphasize the collaborative nature of the relationship. If there were an educator or an evaluator who felt at the beginning of the year, this doesn't feel collaborative to me, maybe they'd be better served with a different combination. Does that have to go through a grievance process, or is there?
That's a great question. You want to take that one? We've talked about this
Sure.
extensively, so.
A lot of grievances start at the informal stage. Many grievances never get past the informal stage. So that teacher may feel they need union representation. They'd come to us and they say, here's the situation. We would open the informal dialogue. Hopefully, the situation would be resolved there. Is this a conflict of interest, or is there other conflicts? Why is that there? And then if not, then it wouldn't necessarily need to become more formal.
And it has happened, not frequently, but in the past few years, we've had occasion to have those conversations. And to Mr. Broad's point, we've always been able to resolve it at a kind of first conversational level and figure it out, so.
Great.
New topic. So when a educator becomes an experienced educator, I think you threw out the 5-year was a minimum of 5-year experience. Is that kind of a threshold? And does it have to be the educator, does it have to be the evaluator agreeing to transition them to an experienced educator, let's say before the 3-year term? If they hit the 3-year term, do they automatically get it, or does it have to also be agreed upon?
It would be the evaluator, probably in consultation with the building principal, who would approve that, I would think.
Prior to the 5 years.
Yeah.
After the 5 years, it's an automatic. They move to continuing contract and they're on the experienced educator plan.
Let's say they've required support plans every single year.
Then they would be on a support plan or potentially an improvement plan, which is another category of educator within the entire evaluation plan.
But they would still become an experienced.
They would
and
still
would
be
only
considered
have a 3-year
contractually, yes.
evaluation.
Under that 5 years, the district can dismiss at the end of the year and not renew a contract for any teacher. So I would think that would be a decision that the administration would make.
That's under the 5 years, not for an experienced teacher.
It doesn't mean that you can't move a teacher that's over 5 years, but there's a process that would have to be followed to give them an opportunity to meet the expectation that's being
And just a point of clarification, I want Mr. Brad to weigh in on this. But support plans and improvement plans are designed for experienced educators. Because new
They do not
educators.
apply to new educators.
Correct. So I think, Bree, your question about a new educator who would have been on a support plan repeatedly, that would not happen because they would be a new educator. Experienced educators can be placed on support and improvement plans. New educators are renewed annually and they have a different level of support automatically built into their evaluation plan. Does that make sense? And that is tied to the TTA contract, so.
That's a law too.
And law, yes.
So page 14, educators will select areas, plural, of improving the work in these areas over a 3-year cycle. If they're rated unsatisfactory or basic, they need to be improved to the proficient level. For any components that are rated as unsatisfactory or basic, the educator and evaluator should engage in a conversation. Why shouldn't it say will? Why is that an option that they should engage in a conversation? So if you're an educator and you are, or your evaluator has said, hey, you're unsatisfactory, let's engage. Yes, this is something we should do, but I'm not going to. I'm afraid that language may limit. Mr. Krieger.
I think that would send a really clear message to the administration. Someone not willing to engage. I think that is a piece of evidence as well that we would provide evaluative feedback on.
An experienced teacher, the evaluator says, yeah, the way you're talking to your students, not so much. You're dismissing the ones that aren't getting it right out of hand. You need to work on that. No, I don't. And that's when it percolates up the system and there are processes and procedures that you could deal with that in a timely manner. Is this what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Okay.
I've never experienced that type of refusal to address, a need like that. And I've worked with quite a bit over time. So there's people there to coach the teacher, from the support of the union or the building rep or the staff member they choose to come support them. And there's an open door to the administration to have these conversations as well. So if there's somebody who's balking at an improvement piece, we first need to quite understand what's going on there, but from an administrative perspective, but there's going to be encouragement to address it because refusal to could cost them their position.
So I'll be a little bit more candid than perhaps I should. I've waxed philosophic about my positive experiences going through the district myself and the positive experiences my children have had. There was a singularly negative experience with an educator in the district tried to the best of their ability to provide the support that was felt to be needed, and this educator played the game enough that they stayed in much longer than anybody wanted them to. I'm trying to make certain that this language does not disenfranchise the evaluators and the administration from helping move that rare bad apple along, who's just skimming this, playing the game.
I want Mr. Brad to address that first then. Yeah, go ahead.
Not trying to be confrontational.
Since this evaluation agreement formed 10 years ago, or 12 years ago, there have been a number of teachers who have been moved to improvement plans. It's not a lot, fortunately. That would be the step and the administration can move anyone to an improvement plan if they can show just cause. So I would think that would be the safeguard you're looking for. It exists in the plan already.
But it says should engage in a conversation, but it doesn't say will. The language is should.
And I think to my earlier point, if we're engaging with a staff member that is unwilling to engage with us about the feedback, evaluative that we're providing, That says enough.
That speaks volumes, okay.
And Mr. Short, I would just add that the updates to this plan, part of the intent of moving to more frequent, regular observations with more frequent feedback, with enhanced requirements for self-reflection, is designed purposefully to increase our ability to have eyes on what's going on in classrooms, and to have documentation, both positive and negative. I do think too, there are educators who are craving feedback. And some of the teachers who were part of our committee, that was part of what drove our discussion, is that teachers are looking to have collaborative opportunities to get feedback on what they are doing, to improve their own practice, to speak with their colleagues about what they're doing. And so it's not always about slapping them on the wrist. Sometimes it's about, we want to grow as a unit, as an organization. And so having increased opportunities to have those conversations, we think is going to benefit all of us from the perspective you're speaking to, but also from a perspective of professional growth, to really highlight some of the positive things that are going on in our buildings as well. So I would just leave it at that.
I'd also say that, if you're talking about a student's perspective or a parent or community member's perspective of what's going on in a school with a particular teacher, these are personnel issues. And the degree of information that can be shared on those things, basically the personnel issues should not be conversations that are going on between other staff members and the parent or the administrators, for that matter, and the parent. They're confidential situations, and there's a process. There has to be a trust that they're respected to that degree, that they will go through the mechanism of the union rep, the issue at hand, the plan being followed, and things will be handled as they can in a time frame that's prescripted, in all these situations. So if you're putting somebody on a improvement plan, it's not an endless improvement plan. There's a time frame that's agreed upon in a meeting with everybody present that's involved. The evaluator, the rep, the administrator, probably the principal, not the administrator. It's a very formal process, very daunting process for the teacher involved. And then there's personnel here at the SAU. They have to make sure that if there's any other component of this that's being missed, it could be a health issue, a number of things that impact a student's performance or teacher's performance at a given time. Those things all have to be looked at and not shared. So respectful to you, I'm sure you knew something, but think about how you knew it, and how much you knew compared to the other people, the professionals dealing with the situation.
This was, again, an isolated, and I don't think this would happen but once in a blue moon, but if there's something we could do to prevent one of those very rare things, or rather enable a greater action plan. At this stage, it was well known enough that administration did get involved. Additional assistance were given to this class of students on a regular basis until the situation could be remedied. But anyway, I digress. I do take your point. I think this is absolutely heading in the right direction. And the fact that we will have more touches on the ball for you to observe and help and provide the tools in a timely manner rather than letting years slip by is absolutely heading in the right direction. And I'm certainly not suggesting otherwise. Did you have more? I did have one or two more, unfortunately. Page 15, if educators are not proficient in competent areas of Danielson's domain, they should be designing activities and personal goals. Of course they should. Again, I would just recommend putting the word would in there, or will. That shouldn't be an option, that if they're determined to be deficient in a particular area and need supports, additional supports, that they should seek those supports or should seek self-improvement. They're paid professional. I would encourage, and I feel that the word should be changed to will or would.
I'm not generally opposed to that, except as Don had suggested, there might be other circumstances that are part of the situation.
Yep.
would then the teacher be forced to do this in light of any number of unpredictable other situations?
That's
I'm
between
not
the
opposed to it.
evaluator and the teacher then. I mean, that's between the evaluator and the teacher then.
That's right, it is.
Yeah, no, so instead of saying should it, areas or movements toward improvement from being subpar to par, it shouldn't be an option.
I would say the counter argument for that would be to support the teachers being successful and maybe they're deficient in 10 areas and can't focus on all 10. With your phrasing, they would have to focus on all 10, but maybe our priorities are to focus on 3. We really want these 3 to get better.
Not to be snarky, but if someone's deficient in 10 areas, then
We
you know
just
they're
said
bigger
there was
fish
like
to fry.
27
What-
per 1 per 5 per 8, do the math.
But this is not to be picayune, this is to allow the administration the tools and to cut out the wiggle room. I don't look at this as being a punitive piece of architecture at all. I just wanna make certain that it has the appropriate robustness, that if needed in those very rare occasions that my family went through, and we can talk offline more if you'd like, that there are some means for you to address that.
Justin wanted to speak too.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Just for this
Justin, I didn't see.
specific point, as I see these means, if the evaluator is making suggestions to the teacher that they need to go and seek supports and services and other things, and they don't, I go back to what I said before.
Speaks volumes.
That speaks volumes.
Yep.
That's feedback we're receiving based on our interaction there.
And might I add, that is connected to domain 4, principal teaching, where there are components that speak to professional growth. And some of those criteria speak to a lack of willingness to engage in professional growth opportunities. So all of those things are reflected in the rubric and would be documented in that way, so.
The word document is important there. If you're bringing up this type of a suggestion, if I'm talking to an administrator, say an assistant principal and I'm the principal and we're talking about evaluation in our process and what we do to kind of cover ourselves to make sure that something isn't lost just out of a conversation or misunderstood, it has to be documented. You should write it down. You know, anything you're giving that's, you know, that's specific to
Absolutely.
concern, you're going to put that in writing to the teacher, so you kind of put a marker down. This is when we have that conversation.
Great.
To that point, I was wondering what the rationale behind not putting the support plan in a file.
In a
File, saving it.
Once
and
they've gone from
saving-
deficient to
The
proficient.
support plan does not have to be punitive. It's not because you are underperforming. It could be because you have a particular area that you need support in. We don't, since it is not punitive, necessarily punitive, we don't want that to be in the record as looking punitive. Does that make sense?
It does, but what if that supports our mentorship program and gets us federal funding? If we now have these data points of saying all of this resources that we're utilizing.
I'm not sure, except in that case, you might ask the teacher if they can share that support plan, if it wasn't punitive.
And I'm not saying the whole plan, but maybe just a mark, support.
I don't see why you couldn't, if with permission of the teacher.
One last question, and how would you two deal with this, or how do you see this for working out? And this, again, is under support plan. The evaluator and educator will mutually agree on an observation schedule. My thought here, and that sounds absolutely reasonable. I'm an extraordinarily high-functioning physics teacher. I love my AP kids, my honors kids, they're okay. Everybody else, they're just a bunch of fools. I just have to get through the day with them. This is my attitude, right? I only want you to observe me in my AP classes, or maybe an honors class. Do you have the flexibility there, or does that conflict with the mini observation where you can do it spontaneously where you want?
The evaluator would be setting up an observation schedule based on what it is that they are trying to evaluate. So again,
But it says mutually, I'm just questioning the mutually agreed upon schedule. I am a jerk. I'm not going to agree to have, I mean, do I have that right as a
Well,
teacher
then
to
we
do
have
that?
bigger problems.
Then we have a
like we've
bigger,
been
or does
saying.
it just rinse and repeat back to Justin's original? I'm not certain whether that has been thought of or discussed or whether I'm making a mountain out of a molehill.
I don't wanna say that,
Well, you did.
but in the case where we've had, and we've not had a lot, half a dozen perhaps, of improvement plans over the last decade or so that I'm aware of. They've always been able to sit down and say, here are the problems, here's where we think we need to observe you. And the agreement is usually the other person saying, yes, okay, that's when you're going to observe me. We've never had a case where, no, you can't come in my period 4 because.
Okay,
Things
rinse and
are
repeat to Justin's,
And
perfect.
again, I think that goes back to what Justin says, that, if you're turning away an administrator, that's a whole different deal.
Very last thing, promise, that I can think of right now. On page 22, the educator may request a written report from the evaluators at any time. And I just suggest you say within, or maybe sent within 5 business days or 2 business days, but at any given time, that could be, December 23rd, and they don't get it to January 1st. Just protecting yourselves, just think about that.
I believe elsewhere in the document, it specifies the time limit, like within a week.
Yes.
That administrators need to update their reports, so.
So you're not concerned with the holiday week, that's fine.
No,
Cool. Any other questions? Troublemaker, go.
This has been a very deep, robust conversation regarding this document, but in all honesty, I did share some of the questions. Thank you for the explanation, thank you for going into all 4 domains and the methods in which you guys support folks. I'm just gonna say 2 things. One is, I think, outside of the teacher being evaluated, I'm sure that our SAU staff are supporting our administrators in learning how to use this tool and be effective and efficient. It's a collaborative thing. So in making sure that that happens, some of the things that we've brought up would be mitigated. And with that being said, I would like to make a motion to adopt the updated TTA evaluation plan.
Second.
I think Alyssa may be done out on this one. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Seeing none. Thank you. Thank you for answering my questions. I appreciate it.
thank you.
We should have had her gone.
Yeah, didn't think of that.
Didn't think of it either.
Didn't think of that, sorry.
I will make that change.
And coming up next for the hardball questions, Mrs. Kanotis.
Let's take a deep breath now. Let's move into math. Alright. So what you see before you is a 2-page document. The links provided will just bring you to what the new curriculum would look like with these changes. So it's probably easiest to look at the charts in front of you. Please know that wherever there were spelling errors, punctuation, spelling, the word that missing before one of those, I did not bring all those to you. Those were just done on the side. So by grade, I have just made note of some of the changes that through working in the last few years, teachers have made these changes to their instructional units, and we want to make that solidified in the published documents that we have online.
Questions? Great.
So does grade 2 not have any changes, or it's just within that web link?
It is just within errors, punctuation, spelling, so I linked it there, but that one particular unit didn't have any additions, removals, or changes.
Any other questions? Yep.
So just to clarify from curriculum and assessment, my understanding of this is these are things that are already currently being practiced in our classrooms, and teachers are asking for their, their core resource that they go to establish what they're already practicing in their classroom.
Yes, they're either things that they've already changed, or for example, in grade 3 at the end of this year, because this year we created common math assessments for every unit. So the question came, why are we just assessing 0 through 9 for multiplication? Why not 10? That makes sense. So some of the things haven't necessarily already been put in place, but have come out of those conversations with teachers as we look at those assessment practices.
So I'm gonna make a motion to adopt the updated elementary math curriculum.
I'll second.
Seconded by Bree. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstains? Awesome. Thank you.
Oh boy, back to.
Give you a chance to breathe.
Sorry, okay. All right, I gotta change my mindset.
Would you like me to start?
No, that's okay, unless you would like to.
No.
Okay, we are going to transition to quite a few policies that we are bringing to you from the policy committee. The first of these, policy EBBB, accident reports. This went back through the policy committee for a couple of different reads. This is pertaining to accident, injury, incident reporting. So the policy itself, when it first came to policy committee, was amended. You'll see that our original policy was holistically redlined and was changed entirely based on the new model policy language connected to updated RSA. So one of the conversations that came up in policy committee was a recommended change that came from our school nurses who reviewed this policy. And that change being that they wanted to change the terminology under section A number 3, that's second number 3 rather, requires first aid. There was a recommendation that they change that to requires emergency medical services. That was a question that we were pondering at policy committee. We did send that to our legal counsel, and the response was that that is acceptable, but they asked us to add that following small paragraph that precedes section B that says nothing in this policy is intended to supersede or invalidate reporting requirements for employers under the New Hampshire Workers' Compensation Law, et cetera. And so with those changes, it went back to policy. We felt that that met some of the concerns that we had as a committee and voted to move that here for a first read. So again, this was vetted by both our district nurses and our district legal counsel and aligns to updates to state RSA. Yes.
So is it okay if I?
Yeah.
So I know that this is up for a first read. If we approve it for a first read and it goes back to policy, do you foresee any additional changes being made to this, or it would just cycle right back to us for a second read and approval?
It would likely come directly back. We've looked at this, I want to say, on 3 different occasions at policy committee, if I'm not mistaken.
Marianne?
I noticed one thing under part C, paragraph B was about a serious injury, but it says the report would state the cause of death. So I think
That's not serious to you?
I'm sorry. Well, it is, but the paragraph before that is about death, so
Oh,
I
thank
don't-
you.
I didn't even catch
I
that.
don't think that
Involving death or
paragraph
serious
needs to-
injury.
Death or serious, yeah.
Yes,
Probably typo, but
yes, that would be in the model policy, and thank you. We did not catch that, so. So that would be for section B. I don't want to suggest that, but I'm assuming you're suggesting that it be the cause of the accident or the cause of the serious injury?
the cause of the injury.
The cause of the injury.
Yes.
Thank you.
So
Mark,
because that was
Bree was.
Bree,
I was just wondering on section D, page 3, what does Timberlane do for annual training?
At the start of the school year, our school nurses, part of every staff meeting to welcome staff back is connected to updates around health trainings, protocols, things of that nature. This would be part of that.
anybody else? Okay. Do you wanna do these? Let's see, that's the.
Make a motion to approve policy EBBB for a first read.
And second?
they have something to change, right, to go back and change, so we can say
The
as is
wordage,
amended,
as amended.
as amended. A first read and second read and adoption with
As amended.
as amended.
I will second that.
Sorry, Linda.
Yeah. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Abstain.
Okay, thank you. The second policy we're looking at this evening is policy IKL. This is a policy that we currently do not have on the books. It came about in the course of our district director of technology, Mr. Henderson, has pulled together a committee of educators across the district around artificial intelligence, looking at AI implementation in schools, creating some parameters, trainings, things of that nature. In the course of that, part of their work was to look at policy and policy updates relative to AI. And this policy was the first that we came across. I will give you advance notice that the policy committee right now is also looking at a second policy separate from this one, specific to generative AI, that will be coming your way more than likely after it goes for a second read at policy committee. This first policy, however, does not exclusively address AI. It is one component of a policy on academic integrity and honesty and integrity. We first, this went through the AI committee. They had a lot of conversation about the language in section B. Number 2, improper use of AI tools. For the most part, they maintained the model language from the draft policy from the New Hampshire School Boards Association. There was some language in this originally that spoke to consequences. That committee recommended that we defer to school handbooks, because at different levels, there might be different ways of addressing this on a case-by-case basis. This policy from the AI committee went to the policy committee for a first read. It then went to the curriculum and assessment committee for 2 reads and was approved by that group because it, again, addresses academic honesty that is connected to things like instructional practices. It went back to policy committee for a second read and is now before you. So this policy has been thoroughly vetted and would be something that at the start of the year, regardless of whether or not this policy is approved, we do have time carved out on our district professional development day to speak to teachers about AI use in their classrooms. And we will be asking educators to be explicit with regard to their expectations in their classroom regarding what acceptable use and unacceptable use looks like at their developmental level, if they are using it at all at the elementary school. But certainly at the middle and high schools, we're also asking teachers to include that in their syllabi at the start of the year so that it is documented and students have a solid understanding of what each teacher expects. So.
Questions, comments? If I could put Mr. Stack on the stage here, and again, disclose nothing about yourself, speak in general terms only. Your knowledge, experience with AI in the class, the student population, how pervasive is it?
Typically, it's negative. It'll just be used as plagiarism, just, oh, do this assignment for me. That's not what it's.
That's not uncommon.
No, not uncommon, uncommon at all. However, it can be extremely useful for researching and sifting through data that might take just looking and reading, and that AI could just be like, oh, here's the thing you were looking for. That's how it can be used effectively. Is it used effectively like that? By some students, maybe. By the majority, no.
Understood.
Just to follow up on that, part of the work of the committee that Mr. Henderson has convened, they're looking at what other districts have been doing. The Department of Education has actually put together an entire handbook around AI use in education in educational settings. And they are looking at ways that we as a district can put some guardrails in place from a technology perspective, different platforms that exist to limit AI usage. To help monitor, but also to help educate, which we see as really where we want to lean into this. That, again, it's not acceptable. We're identifying that to be used for the types of cheating and plagiarism that, we hear these stories about. But it can be a productive tool, and really it's on us as educators to teach students and give them opportunities to use it in a productive way. So that will be some of the work that committee is working on.
That's the future.
So I was part of curriculum assessment committee that looked at this, and Sandy did such a great job explaining, but the extensive amount of work that has gone into this on a variety of levels, from the state level, within our own district, things of that nature. And given the conversation that we just had with Cam regarding student use and just having some parameters and guidelines in place for teachers to be able to go by, I am in favor in making a motion to accept this policy IKL, academic honesty and integrity, for first read, second read, and adoption. And if policy committee feels that there needs to be change brought to this board, there's always the possibility to revise and adopt the policy based on new and updated information. So I'd like to make a motion to accept policy IKL for first read, second read, and adoption.
Marion seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? None. Thank you very much. Thanks, Cam.
Thank you. Next policy, JLCJ, which is concussions and head injuries. This policy has some updates to our former policy due to changes in state law, pertaining also to updates in NHIAA requirements connected to medical consultation around concussion protocols and things of that nature. So all of the underlined language that is connected to those changes to either NHIAA practice or state law. Some of the red line items that pertain to information sheets that are handed out to parents and guardians, those would be embedded in some of the revised educational practices that you might read about in the new language. So again, this went through 2 reads at policy committee. That committee did not make any recommended changes to the model policy language and updates. So this is coming to you as well for a first read.
So since Mark has stepped out, is it the will of the board that I continue the conversation without him here? Yes. Okay, great. Any discussion? Somebody like to make a motion?
Move that we accept this for a first read.
For a first read? Don's making a motion to approve the policy JLCJ for a first read.
Second.
Second by Paul. Any further discussion?
Want to second and adopt it.
Support that amendment, say.
You're gonna make an amendment to your original
There is no
motion?
debate here, it's good to have it in,
Yep.
ready to roll, so.
So Don is amending his motion for JLCJ for first, second read, and adoption. And Paul, you're seconding the amended motion?
Second that.
Great. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, abstain. So 7-0-0.
Okay. Next policy, JICJ, not to be confused with JLCJ that you just approved. Unauthorized communication devices is a brand new policy. This is an update that we are bringing to you. It is a consequence, the result of House Bill 2, which was passed by the legislature, signed into law by Governor Ayotte, and became effective on July 1. I don't know if, Justin, you want to weigh in on this and talk about it a little bit, but just in terms of process, what you see in front of you, I want to speak to that a little bit. We received a model policy for the use of unauthorized communication devices from the New Hampshire School Boards Association. I want to say around July 19th. That feels about right when we received it. This again was signed into law on effective July 1st. What you see in front of you in large part is entirely the model policy, which comes directly from the language in the law. There is not a lot of leeway in here that we would have the ability to adjust based on wording, requirements, things of that nature. The law requires consultation with stakeholder groups, including teachers. We went through that process. We met with a a teacher who was appointed by the TTA to be their liaison to the policy committee. That individual met with me individually and we worked through this. He had some input that he brought from a survey that went out to our staff back in June around the use of cell phones in schools. We talked about the results from those surveys. That informed our conversation around the policy and some of the changes that you'll see in the section around consequences and a violation. We also met with our admin team, predominantly at the high school. We spent some time at the professional principals leadership team, having conversations with district administrators. Justin was there, and our building leaders at the high school to talk about in practice, right, what makes sense. So we went through a very thorough process around consultation and development to try to think about this. We talked about it pretty extensively at policy committee last week. I think we spent almost 2 hours talking about the language in this. This policy by law, regardless of whether or not the policy is on the books, we will be required to implement this in practice at the start of the school year. It is something that we are hopeful, and I don't want to speak for the TTA, but based on their liaison who was present at our meeting, I believe that they are also very hopeful that we can have something in place to start the school year to be very clear and direct with both our teachers and our students and our families about what the policy is. It also would be something that would be required to be published in student and staff handbooks. So, and I'll let Justin speak a little bit if you want to expound on why we made some of the changes we did in the section on consequences, maybe.
Yeah, for sure. And also just to remind the board that we had written to all of our families and we've updated them on this law change and what would be forthcoming. We've also written to every staff member that works in Timberlane and advised them of the law change and let them know of the support and guidance and training they'll get on building days as administrators as they're coming back. We also intend to write directly to each of our high school students on Monday, myself and Principal Vacarezza, in a little bit different letter than the staff or the families would have received, informing them of the law and what their requirements are under it and how we are going to be kind of responding to that. We had conversations with our admin team that we want to approach this as pretty low stakes. We're not looking to add and make conflicts and escalated battles with students. We recognize, particularly at the high school level, this is going to be a major cultural shift for the students and their families that have grown accustomed to immediate access to their children. So we are making a conscious decision that we will not be confiscating phones from students because we are going to be avoiding those escalating measures. I've been really clear with our admin team that I have yet to find an experience in schools where a phone is serving as a health, safety, or wellness emergency. Therefore, in my view, it can wait to kind of get dealt with. I don't want teachers on the front end of this about implementing those things because I want them thinking about teaching kids. We've talked about administrators and what their roles are going to be there. I think we can implement this and do it in a tone that is not combative, that we're not creating a police force in schools where we're uncovering rocks and crannies looking for all these things. We know that kids will find a way. We've got to go the best we can about implementing the law as it's here and doing a great education piece about why the law is here. There are some really good matters for us to consider about what the possibilities in our schools could look like from this. I think we're prepared to open the school year like that. I think we have communicated to our best of our abilities about where we're at. I think we're going to be really clear with students about what's going to happen here. But these are not battles that we're going to have with students and families. The law is clear. Each school is going to have a specific designated place that's universal for every student to store phones if they indeed bring them to schools or their watches, their communication devices. And it should just be a very matter-of-fact piece. If students continue to violate that policy that you may get to tonight or the law itself, we're going to be treating it like any other student infraction. There's a due process procedure for them. There's a graduated set of circumstances. Eventually, the issue becomes insubordination. It's not the phone or the computer itself. And we're just going to have a coaching mechanism. I think the adoption that we want to do is from day one to have a very clear and simple plan that is implemented comprehensively and in a way that is going to be consistent, so we get a handle on it soon. Because if we don't do it like that, my fear is like we're in March and April and we're never going to get a hold of it. I think any educator would tell you that. You're going to start from the beginning what you want to see at the end. So that's what we're going to attempt to do. But I wanted to let the board know that we are not, we've been really clear that we're not going to be these, our schools can't become a police state where we're searching for these things. When we find them and they're there and they're used and they shouldn't be, we're going to be addressing them.
I think that one of the things that came out of the policy committee for me was that there seemed to be a recognition from the TTA rep that was there and the admin group that was there, that this had to be a collaborative effort. And they needed to be able to work together, to change the behavior. And they don't want to escalate issues. But you're right, it seems to come down to, you have to have a process, you have to have consistency. Everybody in every class should be, holding the same standard and expect the same response. And I think that's what the teachers want. They want to know what to predict is going to happen. They need follow through. And then one of the administrators, they were saying, we would like to have ongoing meetings with, either the rep or the teachers in general, to as they go forward, to be able to tweak what they're doing to make it work. So, very, very supportive, I think, of the educational piece of this, as well as, and not just the obvious one, which is to stop impacting negatively, learning because of the misuse of cell phones, et cetera, devices. But more, knowing that this is going to be a change for people that gets that habits they have, that are lifetime habits of living with their device, that it's going to take ongoing work and people being fairly dealt with.
I'm just going to reiterate what Don said, but more importantly, just shorten it to thank you for the extensive effort, collaboration, and energy that so many folks across our admin and our district did, and the state, right, to get this into place. And regardless of circumstance, feelings towards it, or whatever, I do think that we want to honor the voices of the folks that are going to be following this policy. And so with that being said, I'm going to make a motion for first, second read and adoption of JICJ, unauthorized communication devices.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Seeing none. This will be interesting. This will be a real sea change, and I'm glad that collaboration with the TTA and admin, that the focus has been, and this will be absolutely disruptive in the beginning, but mitigating that as much as possible so that it does not interfere with educational time and teachers' time in front of students, teaching them, because my understanding, the policy was put in place to increase the quality education time, not decrease. So, well placed. Okay.
We are not done. So policy AB, which is a new policy, again, connected to a new law signed into effect by Governor Ayotte effective July 1. It's House Bill 10. This pertains to the New Hampshire Parental Bill of Rights. This, again, is already in place. This document was adopted entirely from model policy language that the NHSBA developed directly from the law that was recently passed. So in essence, all of these different rights in Section A are coming from a variety of different places. Some of them are other laws that are already on the books. Some are other recent laws that were signed into effect by the governor recently. But they are designed to very clearly articulate a parent's rights with regard to their child. They range from rights of requesting access to academic records, to participation in different extracurricular activities, to opportunities to request information about what students are learning in their classrooms. So this again is something that we will be required to adhere to starting at the start of the school year, and Section A in its entirety is also required to be posted permanently on our school website and published in our school staff and student handbooks. So happy to answer any questions, but again, this is entirely taken from the law.
Given this is the law, I would like to make a motion to approve, to waive a first read of policy AB and adopt it.
Any discussion?
Just to say that there are 19, I believe, separate, things that are very interesting to read and to think about in terms of what that
The implications.
what that means for schools in terms of being prepared to deal with. So, I mean, I'm not sure everybody's excited, but I think they also acknowledge, these are all important issues today in education and schools. So parents need, to be assured that we know what those 19 things are, we post them and we support them.
Can I just ask a question? I know it's the law, but it says, one of them says, upon request of the parent, the right to receive information regarding state qualifications of the students, classroom teachers, and paraprofessionals. Is that the individual teacher and parent, like, so if I want to see their licenses, qualifications, or is it for the position?
I believe it is their individual qualifications.
The actual teacher.
All right, so if I'm an optimist, which I usually am, I could say, are they even licensed to do this? And they're like, yep, here it is. Right.
It's their certification.
Right.
Yes.
I bet that's probably easy to maintain. Some of the other stuff might cost some.
They do maintain that here anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There might be some administrative grief in here, some other 20 things, but like, all right, I just didn't understand that question, all right.
Raise my hand.
Okay, so there's a motion, a second discussion. All those in favor?
Good.
All those opposed? Abstentions?
Who seconded it?
I did.
Sorry about that. Told you you'd work tonight.
Okay, next, policy ACN, accommodation of nursing mothers. Also connected to the passage of House Bill 358, which is known as the Pump for Nursing Mothers Act. It does mandate, with very limited exceptions, that workplaces need to provide accommodations for employees who are lactating. And that includes students who are pregnant or have related medical conditions. And so the policy that follows is connected to this. So I'll start with this policy first. This is again required by law. We do not currently have this policy. It reflects updated language in RSA. And just to segue into the one that follows, you all recently approved updates to policy JIE, pregnant students, that we are recommending and bringing to you. It was put on the agenda to formally announce the intent to revoke. If you all recall, because we've gone through this a couple of times, to revoke a policy, you need to have the full membership of the board present and announce it 2 weeks prior to your vote. So you cannot vote on the following policy, but this is connected to changes to this law, but also changes that have been happening over the past 12 months around Title IX legislation. If you remember, we were operating under the 2020 version of Title IX. Last fall, we brought to you widespread updates to policy connected to changes to 2024 Title IX, the Title IX Act. Those were then repealed, and we are back in 2020. So the update to pregnant students, that policy that we are looking to revoke, that is no longer in effect because we are back to the 2020 Title IX legislation, and pregnant students will be protected under this policy that you are reviewing, ACN. So they go together, just so you have a clear picture of why we are bringing one forward and looking to revoke the other one.
Any questions or comments? Paul?
This is the first time we've had a policy regarding this, really?
We had the policy on pregnant students. We also had policies in place for staff. This is updated. There's updated legislation, so.
So we just built 2 mother's rooms in our facility. They're nice. I got like a
Yep.
nice seat and this refrigerator where they can store things and a sink and all that other stuff. It's very private locks. Do we have any? Is that what we're going to do though?
We have those spaces in our schools.
So they're already.
We've identified
Every
those.
school has them.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Because I just wanted to be an afterthought. You know what I mean?
No, those are in place. They have been for
Okay.
quite some time, at least 10 years, I feel like. Yeah,
Somewhere in that range.
it's been quite a while.
Is it? It should be. It's just.
It's common sense.
It's the right thing to do.
Right.
It's the law too, but I mean, it's also, it's the right thing to do it right, you know what I mean, respectfully and privately.
Yeah.
Do I hear a motion in the making from you, Paul?
Yeah, I say we do this.
So Paul states he's making a motion to accept.
To accept and revoke.
No, we're gonna-
Can't revoke.
Do you have a question?
I
Yes,
have
so
a
they're gonna be-
question.
Revoke.
I have a question.
Mary Ann.
First, is Title IX also, does that also cover employees? Cause it refers people to Title
Yes.
IX.
Yes, it covers both.
Okay, and then I think under section F, it talks about policy ACAC,
Yes.
which I believe has been revoked.
Yes,
or
so
repealed.
we need to, that is on our list for policy committee. That is so policy ACAA was our Title IX policy. You all revoked that last year because we moved to ACAC, or vice versa, but because of those changes around Title IX, we will now have to go back and revert to some of our former policies that. So, yes, but
So should we do this just as a first read until that other policy exists?
Doesn't matter,
It's
it
the
needs to be
law.
in place, it's the law. So let's just get it done.
Notice has to be in place, right?
What's that?
The revocation notice, we'd be voting
The
on.
revocation notice has to be in place so that we can have a full board. So this is the 2-week notice in hopes that we have a full board next week when we can revoke it. But ACN is the law, so let's read it, approve it. We have no say in it whatsoever. It'll be interesting if we never get a full board and it can never be revoked, but that's not mine to worry about.
Right, so these would be 2 separate.
might I just, I think
Please,
Mrs.
please.
Springer was referencing policy ACA, the Title IX
ACN.
policy. Yes,
Oh,
so
thank you for that, Sam.
ACN or ACAC?
Well, ACN
ACAC.
is the policy that references
Yes.
ACAC that
Yes.
doesn't.
Yes, and so on our future policy committee agenda, we're looking forward to, ahead, I should say, not forward, but looking ahead to make those changes to revert back to what we need to. But you're right, we don't have it in practice right now.
So do I hear a motion from you, Paul, again?
What I'm thinking is I'd like to make a motion to adopt ACN. That would be one motion, the other one is a separate motion.
Which we can't do right now. We can't do, we don't.
Right, we have to post that first.
To accept ACN waiving second read.
I'll
Yes.
second.
There's a second.
Shauna.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? And abstentions? Mary Ann abstains. Okay. Okay, so we have notified JIE. And next up at bat, we have, this is also very exciting, annual suspension authorization.
There you go. You guys are almost through a 169-page school board packet. Last agenda item for business. It's simply me asking you for the annual authorization that I am able to, as the superintendent of schools, suspend students for an additional 10 days for matters that would result, and they're listed there for you, mostly about health, safety, and wellness.
Move that we accept, what are you in for the, actually, to reauthorize?
Yes.
Second.
Second, there's been a first, a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this? Do we remember this from last year, what it entails? Great.
Quick question, does it reference like a designee or anything, like let's say you're on vacation for a week?
Yes.
Yes.
Or representative.
Our representative.
Okay, I just didn't see it, yeah, that's what I said.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, those two likely designees are right here.
All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Seeing none? Moving on. Administrators report.
All right. So 169 page packet. I got 11 things for you tonight. The first is awesome. I think we were talking a little bit about kindergarten camps earlier. Really proud in this district that we welcome the opportunity for kindergarten students to come and start kindergarten with us in the summertime before the official start of the school year. I'm also really happy to report out that kindergarten camp is primarily staffed by our kindergarten teachers. So they're meeting these children for the first time and their families for the first time. We had asked our admin team these past 2 days, we had some retreat time with one another. We had asked them to start their days at kindergarten camp, and we had a lot of conversation about what we saw objectively, and then we asked them to reflect and report out today, how does it connect and potentially impact their practice, even as a high school administrator. And I will tell you that the connections that were made were robust. And although there is a ton of difference between a 12th grader and a kindergarten student, they're more similar than we think they are if we really figure out what's important for people to learn. So that's what we did today as an admin team. I want to share that with you. Two things that are follow-ups from really the springtime that I said I'd bring back here. The first is about the fund retention balance. I did hear back from the district's attorney. DRA is not moving in their position. So I have a recommendation for you here. I don't think we should spend any more money on attorney fees or press the DRA anything more. I think that there's a very simple remedy to this, and it's the board simply putting a warrant to the public in March about instituting a fund retention balance that would be in fiscal 27. That'd be my recommendation for you. I don't see a pathway forward that would not continue to spend time and money. I think there's a simpler solution. The other thing I wanted to report back on is that I let you know that I was going to be engaging the board of selectmen chairs in each of the 4 towns around potentially moving the school district deliberative session to a Saturday for this next cycle. I had a meeting with 6 of the 8 representatives from the towns last Wednesday, I think August 7th. I met with the board chairs and the moderators for those towns. In total, there's 8 of them. 6 of them were there. And we had representation from every one of the towns, whether it was the chair, the moderator, or in some situations, both. I let the chairs and the moderators know that I report their feedback publicly back to the board tonight. They are unified in their position about not wanting the school district to move its deliberative session to a Saturday. They cited to me the rationale for that is they don't believe changing the day changes the attendance. They also don't believe that the school district has an attendance problem at their deliberative session. We drew 500 people last year. I think the towns reported to me that they draw anywhere between 25 and 90. So that's their point of comparison. I let them know that I would report that back to you folks this evening. And then we can strategize in terms of how you would like to move forward. I'd like to be able to tell you that by RSA, we could certainly have it on the second Saturday in the window and not be an impact to any of the towns, including rain or postponement dates. So by RSA, it could work. The school district gets to set their deliberative session. I would not advise you to do that without having the buy-in from the towns where we're gonna do it. So if you wanted to move in that direction, I think there's just some work, potentially some education we can do, maybe some solicitation from our own 3,000 families that are connected to this district about what they want. Maybe to be part of what I'm speaking to the boards when I go to their town chair meetings in the fall as well. But I wanted to report to you that's their position right now. And if we wanted to move to a Saturday, I'm here to say that there's some work to do to get to that point.
At what time does the date for the deliberative session generally get confirmed for the school?
That's just a great question that I don't have an answer to right now. Our date is set for this year.
So we already set a Thursday night.
I would imagine that we've already set it because I see it on my calendar.
Kelly Salovich is in charge of that.
That's something I think we should all talk about with the other school board reps that aren't here in our community. That reaction surprises me because I know that before deliberative and during deliberative, I had a lot of people that were upset that they could not make it. It was too late. Saturday would be much easier. So that feedback really surprises me. I would have lost money on that. So we do certainly have some more work to do.
Well, can there be a district-wide survey or
Survey monkey
however
type thing.
that goes out to ask those questions to parents?
I think there's a lot of things
Or
that
to
To
not just
voters,
parents,
to
to
all
voters,
voters,
yes.
yeah.
that would be some hard data that the board could then present
And
as a.
because then maybe, you know, we are thinking, oh, maybe if you know, we do think people want Saturdays, but that maybe will show us differently. We don't know.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's,
You don't know what you don't
Yeah.
know. So let's collaboratively think about that and have that under for new business item in the future. Thank you.
Cool. Two next things, I'm just gonna preview out two things that are coming up on September 4th, which is your next meeting, and you can expect to see them there. The first is just planting the seed around the lease. Dr. Martin and I are gonna bring an executive summary to you. There's about $10 million left in the lease. Currently, the facilities committee has been speaking about this, and they're gonna be making a recommendation to you on the 4th about how to move forward with the remaining phases of the lease. There's primarily gonna be two options presented to you. We can, as a district, access all of the money up front in one more phase, but then spread that work out over the course of the next 1 or 2 years, whenever it would fit in with construction timelines and schools openings. Or the board can decide to continue to do the pattern it's done in the past, which is to take that $10 million and maybe break that into 2 or 3 different phases moving forward. We'll present to you, I think, some of the alternatives, some of the pluses and minuses, and then have a pretty clear recommendation for you. September 4th, I think, is the presentation to talk and think and ask questions about it. We wouldn't be back with you until the second meeting in September, looking for some determination decision. That would still keep us on our timeline to be able to order any materials we would need to advance to whatever option the board wishes to do, so we can make sure that we are continuing to move forward and do the capital work around the district. So you'll see that on the 4th. Also on the 4th, you will see Maria and I present the static unassigned fund balance. So we would have submitted it to DRA by that point, and we will also be presenting that evening the breakdown of the unassigned fund balance. Remember, it's made up of expenses that were not expended and revenues, and we'll have those categories and be able to define them for you there. As I shared earlier, I expect it to be significantly less than half of where we were at the end of fiscal '24. Looking ahead to the fall, two things to preview for you that won't be September, but that will be coming fairly shortly here. And the first is I'm engaged with Mark and Katie around full day kindergarten. We're going to be setting an agenda item down the road in the fall here for the board to take up that conversation. I'm going to be looking for direction from the board about whether this is a direction that you want to move. And I'll have some information to share with you when you get to that point about what are the different pathways that would be viable for the district, whether it's through an operating budget, whether it's through a separate warrant article, and I'll be bringing all the legal pieces that we'll need to have those answers so we can chart whatever path would be your wish. That's the first thing coming up. Second thing coming up will be your bus transportation. Your transportation contract is in its final year. It has 2 optional years we can pick up. I'd recommend to the board about maybe putting a small team of board members together to meet with myself and Dr. Martin. We can take a look at that contract, take a look at the optional years there, maybe give you some feedback about what's not in that contract that we would like to see there, and then make a decision about whether we're going to opt in for this next 2 years or whether we're going to this year go out to bid and see what we're able to secure for the next year. So I think that will be coming up in the fall as well. 2 things happening currently that I want to update you on. We have 2 key administrator positions that we're still in search processes for. I will let you know on September 4th, I intend to bring you a nomination for the Director of Facilities to the board for your consideration. We also have the second large opening for us is at Danville Elementary School. I think I've informed all of you that we have a principal search going on there now. That is still engaged, and I expect that process to be complete and finished by next week. And I will either be bringing a candidate to you directly for hire, or I'll be bringing you a plan B, C, or D to implement for the beginning of the school year for the students and staff at Danville. The other thing currently going on is board meeting structure. I've again talked with Mark and Katie as the chair and vice chair. What I'm gonna be looking to do this year, changing beginning September, is that Ginger Drexel, who's our student services director, will be seated here at the table for the first meeting of the month. And Dr. Martin, the director of facilities, the executive director, will be here on the second of the meeting of the month. My hope is that that can help us set agendas maybe a little bit more effectively. It can get us you materials and time and things that we can be weighing and where those are gonna happen. And it also is gonna allow us, I think, to start to shift the conversation at the board level more towards kids, students and learning, doing the facilities and the financial pieces, but really highlighting the work that the school district is here to do, and that's about students. So that will be a shift that you'll see upcoming. One invitation for you that I'll repeat is that our district opening day is the 26th of August, which is a Tuesday. I love that day. From 8 to 9, we'll be in the PAC. I'd really want to extend the invitation to every single member of the board for you to attend that morning. It's great for the staff to see you, even if it's you shaking their hands as they're coming in the building and then you got to get out. You're welcome to stay through that entire presentation. But I think just giving that hour, you can learn a lot about the tone of the district, just kind of being in that space for an hour. So I really hope to see you guys there that morning. And lastly, Dean, do you have a pics that I showed you? I want to remind you that the school district does business with students over the summertime. We ran 2 ESY programs. These are extended school years for 159 students. These are students identified as in need of special services, and their teams made team decisions that there would be regression for them over the summertime if they did not continue with services. We also had 88 staff members working within those programming for our students over the course of about 6 weeks. One of the programs was working on the middle school, the other was at TLC, and you can just see the staff there. And just wanted to recognize and celebrate them because that's a lot of education that happens over the course of the summertime when I think the assumption is schools are closed and there's not a whole lot kind of going on. And this is just one small thing that was happening in all of our schools over the summertime. But the fact that we've got staff that work during the contractual year that also contract and come to ESY to serve those students as well, it's another thing that speaks to Timberlane. And I'll reflect back to what Angela shared, the percentage of staff who coach, percentage of staff who teach above and beyond extra. It's just a proud place to be. So wanted to share that with you tonight. And that is number
Any questions, folks? Okay. Next we have personnel reports.
personnel report. And if I could, I'm gonna invite Fran up to help maybe coach us through. I know that it came out maybe a little confusing to some people. So she's gonna give us a little bit of direction, Shauna, if she could.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
We have one new personnel report tonight for one new employee, Jackson Dupree. And then the rest of them are ones that you had already approved electronically, the nominations, resignations, right? So they're just being read into the record tonight. So there are two, one for 2 employees. And what happened, one's for Christine, one's for Blair. What happened was in the springtime, they were not brought forward for nomination. And then they ended up getting hired for this coming year. So that's why you have those 2 that are in front of you look a little different. Normally those look like the nomination report that you guys always approve, in the spring. And just for the continuing contract, that just means that they have not met their tenure yet. So that's what a continuing contract means.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's, they don't belong in they're not really on the personnel report because they're not new hires. They're just, being renominated because it didn't happen last spring for this school year.
Okay, so under the professional nomination, there's a listing of 9. You had said we had approved those.
We need to
We
read
need
them
to,
into the
we need
record.
to
You
read them
guys
into
have
the record
approved them
that they're approved.
electronically,
Okay,
they just need,
I
yes,
was gonna say,
they've
because I
already been
recognize
approved, they
it.
just need to be read into the record, that's all.
Perfect. Thank you for that clarification on section number 3.
Shauna, does that help you?
Yep. Okay.
I'll do the
So
first.
I make a motion to approve the professional nomination of Jackson Dupuy, science teacher at Timberlane High School.
Second? Why don't we just do them all at once now?
Nope, it's a separate thing.
Yeah,
Go
okay.
through them all. Go do it.
Any questions?
Got this.
Comments? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Unanimous.
To be included in the meeting minutes, please, Linda.
Yes.
Electronically signed personnel reports dated June 27th, July 1st, July 11th, July 18th, July 31st, and August 7th are the professional nominations of Anne Marie Stucker, .5, preschool teacher, Atkinson Academy; Heather French, school psychologist, Timberlane Middle School; Stacy Parise, math teacher, Timberlane Middle School; Rima Nath, math teacher, Timberlane High School; Susan McDonald, English teacher, Timberlane High School; Alexis Nemetz, grade 5 teacher at Atkinson; Kristen Fredka, grade 5 teacher at Danville; Brianna Santoro, math teacher at Timberlane Middle School; and Jacqueline Smith, art teacher at Sandown North. In addition to that, professional resignations of Megan Melendi, math teacher at Timberlane Middle School; Cheryl Clark, speech language pathologist at the high school; Nicole Habib, elementary teacher at Atkinson Academy; Megan Cloutier, special education teacher at Danville; Christina Courier, art teacher at Sandown North; Erica Law, math teacher at Timberlane High School; Catherine Bannister, elementary teacher at Danville; and Benjamin Morris, science teacher at Timberlane High School. In addition to the right, and then,
That would be a renomination
So-
for Christina Koppel.
and then, but that's a separate motion, or do we approve that in the electronic signed?
You would have approved it in the electronic side.
Also approved in the prior electronic signature is the renomination of Christina Koffel, world language Spanish teacher at Timberlane High School.
Well done. Well done.
No, it's just,
Oh, no,
we already
never
did it
mind. I'm like-
electronically. In the summer, to keep the flow of higher going, we do them repeating electronically. Okay.
Very well done. Vacancy report?
Any questions?
None. Okay, committee reports, report to the school board. Mr. Woodworth,
Nothing, we've covered.
we covered everything. Let's see, for myself, safety committee, Sandy hit on a lot of that earlier, a lot of work done. Alice training going on, she mentioned the days. Also, we had a building safety assessment done by the Department of Homeland Security. It had been a while since we had done it, this just to help us tighten things up. And it also potentially opens us to applying for more federal funding. Has to be done every 3 years. We have completed that as well. I won't get into, more detail than Sandy did on the other stuff that we covered. Shauna.
I don't have anything.
Great.
CIP August meeting was canceled. We'll meet again in September.
Listen.
Sandy covered policy very well. There's a lot more stuff that
does
we
that.
didn't get to, so more is coming. Tax cap committee, we've actually met twice since I believe since last time we all met. The first meeting, we identified questions that we had about if we adopted a tax cap, what would that look like? All the different, we basically went and listed all these questions and we identified 3 different areas. And we broke off into subgroups. So we have legal questions, questions relating to specifically Timberlane financials, and then questions about other district experiences that have the tax cap that are regional districts that we can compare ourselves to. So we did break off into those 3 groups. After the first meeting, did some research, came back yesterday actually, was our second meeting. We identified some more questions that either weren't answered or in addition to the ones we'd already answered. So we will go off separately again, do some more research, reconvene in September for what should be ideally probably the last official meeting of that committee, where we will then start prepping a presentation to bring to the school board, hopefully either the end of September, beginning of October, I think was our projection. Is that correct? Okay.
Are you both happy with the work that's been done, the collaboration? How's it going? It's a big lift, potentially.
It is, yeah.
It is, there's a lot, I think it's going well. I think getting legal clarification because to two bills changed, one RSA, I believe, but it's pretty significant changes to tax cap. What you can put in a warrant, how it's worded, and importantly, a 3/5 majority vote to override it. And that's quite complicated.
Understood,
So
thank you.
we've made a lot of progress.
Yeah,
Yes.
and there's a lot of difference of opinions going around, but surprisingly, a lot of agreement.
Ms. LeCain.
Okay.
I don't have anything.
Okay then. Do we have any other business? Do we have any other delegates or individuals?
No.
Okay, I believe we are going into
So
non-public.
make a motion to go into non-public under 91-A:3 subparagraph C.
Second.
Any discussion?
3 hours later.
All those in favor?
Roll call.
Roll call, sorry, sorry.
Yes.
Dawn is here, yes, as well.
Yes.
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 My goodness.
We'll be back.
We'll not be back.
We have to adjourn and say we're not coming back.